So good evening, all of you. Let us go ahead with the next part of the business and profession in the chapter of depreciation, which we have started in the last lecture. Okay. So the next part is the last thing which we did over here was what is the definition of plant, right? Plant is defined in an inclusive manner and also at the same time in an exclusive manner. Okay. To defeat certain mischievous purpose of certain associates like theater owner, hotel owners, hospital owners, so on and so forth, right? So now let's go ahead with the next part of the depreciation, and the next part of depreciation is, we'll come to the first page of the depreciation, that is the very first section of depreciation, that is section 32 subsection 1 clause 2. And in this very first section, we have certain things to discuss now, like, pay attention please. One of the important condition to claim depreciation is you need to be the owner of the asset, okay, as you can see on the board in the section itself. So if you want to claim depreciation of any particular asset, you need to be the owner of the asset, okay. So if you are not the owner of the asset, you cannot claim depreciation on that particular asset, okay. So the question is, what do you mean by the term owner under the income tax law? What do we mean by the term owner? Okay. Owner means what? What exactly the term owner means? So unfortunately, the term owner is not defined under the income tax law, but it has been used at multiple places. Like, let me give you an example. The term owner is used in the chapter of house property. The very first section of house property, that is the charging section of house property, says that the assessee will be covered under the head house property if he is what? The owner of the house property. Similarly, in the chapter of depreciation, you can see that to claim depreciation, assessee need to be the owner of the asset. But unfortunately, the term owner is not defined under the income tax law. So how to define the term owner under the income tax law? It is not defined. And therefore, there was one issue which came up in front of the Supreme Court in 1999 in the case of Mysore Minerals Limited. Supreme Court. Now, what happened in this case? Pay attention, please. There was an assessee, and it was a case of around 1999. There was an assessee who bought a building. After buying the building, he took the possession of the building. After taking the possession of the building, he started using the building. He used the building for the purpose of business and profession. Okay. He has also made the payment to the seller from whom he has acquired the building. But unfortunately, what happened is, all these activities happened in March to 1999. But unfortunately, what happened? After purchasing the building, taking the possession, using the building, making the payment, one has to also register the property with the registration authorities. So that took some time to register, and that got registered in June 1999. Okay. The property got registered in June 1999. So now the question in front of all of us is, when will the assessee get depreciation? Whether the assessee will get depreciation here in March 1999 or in June 1999. The problem over here is the financial year changes. Now, because the financial year changes, it will impact the assessee. Okay. If somebody asks me, when do you wish to claim depreciation? I will say today rather than tomorrow, because saving tax today is better than saving tax tomorrow, right? There is something called as time value of money in this world. So I would like to save my tax today only rather than saving it tomorrow. So this was the issue which came in front of the Supreme Court in this landmark judgment in 1999 in the case of Mysore Minerals Limited. That when will the depreciation be allowed? Now I have a question to all of you. What do you all feel? When will the depreciation should be allowed? Should it be allowed in March 1999, that is financial year 98-99, or in June 1999, that is financial year 99-2000? Unfortunately, the term owner is not defined under the income tax law. Please tell me.
As what Palan just wrote, Palanipan wrote, March 99.
March 1999, it should be?
I think so.
Yes, Vignesh. So let's see what the judge has to say, okay, rather than making any kind of speculations. Okay. So the Supreme Court in this case, this is one of the landmark judgments of the income tax law. What is a landmark judgment? Every judgment cannot be called as a landmark judgment. A landmark judgment means a judgment which is telling something which is missing in the law. If the law is not able to tell something, and if a judge comes into the place and tells that particular issue, resolves that issue, that judgment will be called as a landmark judgment. Until the time the parliament, the government does not override that judgment will become the law of land. So this judgment is a law of land since last 24 years, since 1999. Let's see what the judge has to say. In this case, the Supreme Court held that the depreciation is allowable to the assessee on the building whose possession has been acquired by the assessee and which were used by him for the purpose of his business or profession, even though such building were not transferred in the name of what? Assessee. Registration of name under the Registration Act is not determinative of ownership. The court said that registration is not an important criteria. What has to be seen is the beneficial ownership. Therefore, if the assessee has taken the possession of a building in pursuance of an agreement to sell, then is deemed as the owner of the building for the purpose of claiming depreciation, even if the building is what? Not registered in his name. So, even if the building is not registered, it doesn't matter. So, what is the ultimate conclusion of this judgment? The ultimate conclusion of this judgment is, for the purpose of income tax law, ownership means which ownership? Beneficial ownership, and not legal ownership, and not something who has a title, but something who has control over the asset, something who has the right to use the asset. So therefore, this judgment is something what Palani has said. It is something which is talking about what? Substance over form concept. Okay. So the form is what? The form is the registration. But what is the substance? The substance is, it is my asset. It is my asset. I have absolute control over the asset. I have right over the asset. Registration is just a mere formality under the registration laws. So this might apply to many other assets as well. For example, if you buy a car, so whenever you buy a car, you have made the payment, you have bought the car, you have took the possession, you are using the car. But sometimes it happens that it took time to get register the car, because initially you get the temporary certificate of the car, which is called as the TC number. I hope you know that. So initially they give you the TC number, which is a temporary certificate to run the car for a temporary purpose till the time the original registration comes. It takes time. It takes around 90 days from the date of purchase to get the registration which is original in nature. So what do we mean by that? Till the time I don't get the original certificate, I am not the owner. Absolutely wrong. I am the owner. I am the owner from the very first day when I have made the payment and I have took the possession of the car, right? So entire concept over here is substance over form concept. Similarly, there is one more important word over here. Only ownership is not sufficient to claim depreciation. Another important condition to claim depreciation is you should what? Please say, use the asset. So another question will come. What do I mean by the term? What do I mean by the term? Use. What will use include? Again, the term use is not defined under the income tax law. It's not defined. But CBDT has come up with a circular. CBDT has come up with a circular explaining the meaning of the term use, and they have said that we want to be very, very generous. We don't want to be strict to define the term use. We want to be very generous enough to define the term use. Now, before we get to the definition of the term use, let me talk about some different thing. First of all, let me talk about some conceptual discussion before we get into the discussion of the word use. Now, what is the conceptual discussion that I'm talking about? I'm talking about what is the nature of a CBDT circular, how a CBDT circular is going to impact the taxpayer, how it is going to impact the income tax department, so on and so forth. So I have a question to all of you. CBDT has a power to issue circulars. We all know that. Okay. Now, suppose if CBDT issues a circular, there is an assessee over here. There is an income tax department over here. There is an assessee over here, Mr. A. Okay. Now, can assessee say, listen carefully, it's a very important concept. Can assessee say that I do not follow a CBDT circular? I don't want to follow a CBDT circular. Just a second. So can an assessee say that I do not believe in CBDT circular? I don't want to follow the CBDT circular. Can an assessee say this? This is the question that I have in front of you all.
I think a qualified yes.
In another way, I can ask the question, even though you have answered the question, but still I would like to ask the question in another form also. Is the CBDT circular binding on the assessee?
No, sir. Binding only on the assessing officer.
And the answer is no. It is not binding on the assessee. It is not binding on the assessee. First of all, I'll tell you the nature and then I'll tell you the logic. Now, second question is if CBDT issues a circular, is it binding on the assessing officer? Is the assessing officer supposed to follow that? And the answer is yes. Now, why so? Why so? The rule is very simple. A CBDT can issue two types of circular. Listen carefully. From assessee's perspective. From assessee's perspective, CBDT can issue two types of circular. One is beneficial, one is harsh. If a circular is beneficial, which is 99.9% of the cases, in 99.9% of the cases, the circular which is issued by CBDT is beneficial to assessee. So now the question is, if the circular is beneficial to assessee, okay, then assessee will not raise any question, right? He will accept it with both the hands.
Yes, sir. But you said yesterday, no, sir. Depreciation need not be claimed. That case he can do, no, sir. If it's beneficial, so he can say no, no, sir.
That is not beneficial now for him. In reality, it is not beneficial, right? If you see the whole picture of next 10 years, then it is not beneficial, right? So the point I'm trying to say, listen carefully. It's a very important concept for us to understand because in the next so many lectures, we are going to address so many CBDT circulars. So we have to clarify this issue at the very beginning itself. Yeah. So if a CBDT is coming up with a beneficial circular, we will accept it with both the hands. Yes, we will accept. Like for example, if CBDT is extending the due date of filing the return, are we going to accept that with both the hands? Yes, we will not be sad about it, right? As an article, you might be sad about it. I am not asking from the perspective of an article. Articles get sad if the due dates get extended, right? Because you have to work for another 1 month, 2 months to the extent that its due date is extended by the department. I am not asking from the perspective of an article. I am asking from the perspective of an assessee. If the due date of July is extended to October, it's great. Nobody would raise any question. But can department reduce the due date of 31st July to 15 July? Can they do so? Have they ever done so? No. If they do so, then does it become harsh on us? If it becomes harsh on us, we have the right to not accept it. Then how we will agitate against it? If a CBDT brings a harsh circular, how are we going to agitate it? How are we going to be raising question on that? You can go to High Court and you can file a petition in the court. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to file a writ petition against the Income Tax Department in the High Court if the circular is harsh. Okay. Now coming to, it means CBDT is going to issue in most of the cases what kind of circulars? Which are beneficial to the assessee and not harsh. Now coming to the question, why so? Why CBDT cannot issue harsh circular? It's very simple, yaar. Does CBDT has the power to make law? Or rather, I would say, does CBDT has the power to pass a law? Who has the power to pass the law? The Parliament. If CBDT starts to make a harsh circular, tomorrow they will make all the amendments sitting in their office only, right? Tomorrow they will say the depreciation rate of income tax is reducing, this is changing, we are disallowing this expense, we are charging this tax. Then there is no need to go to Parliament, right or not? So CBDT's power is limited to clarifying few things or giving relaxation for certain people. They cannot make harsh provision sitting in their office. If they want to make harsh provision, draft the law, pass it in the Parliament and then implement it. Is it clear? So coming to the Income Tax Department, you have already answered. Is the CBDT circular binding on the assessing officer? The answer is obviously yes, irrespective of whether it is harsh or whether it is beneficial. The assessing officer has to follow the instruction of its boss. CBDT is the boss now of income tax department, right? CBDT is the head. CBDT chairman is the head of the income tax department. Whatever CBDT chairman will say, the assessing officer has to follow. It is binding on the assessing officer, but it is never binding on the assessee. If the department is deliberately forcing you to follow, you always have an option to go to the judiciary, right? Is it clear? So coming to the discussion of what? The discussion which we were doing is use. What do you mean by the term use? So CBDT has issued a circular explaining the term use. So what do you feel? It will be harsh or beneficial? It has to be beneficial. Okay. If there is any harsh circular coming across, okay, we will have a special attention on that and we will see if somebody has challenged or not this harsh circular. But if there is a beneficial circular, nobody is going to challenge. Obviously, if it is benefiting us, why the hell I will unnecessarily challenge that? So CBDT said that the word use means active as well as what? Passive use. It will include both kind of use. It will include active use as well as the passive use. Now, what do I mean by active use? Active means something which I am actively using, like this computer, I am actively using. Like this iPad, I am actively using. Okay. But then what is passive use? What do I mean by the term passive use? Passive use means something which is ready for use, which is the necessity of business. For example, suppose I have kept one laptop in spare, or one camera in spare, or one mic in spare, so that if tomorrow this laptop, this mic, this camera doesn't work in between of my lecture should not be affected because of that. So I am keeping something as an emergency, in an emergency situation. Likewise, many companies you might be knowing. There are so many companies in which there are crores and crores of machineries and they are scared about what? The halt of production. So they keep some machineries as what? As their emergency machineries. So whether that emergency machineries would also qualify for the purpose of depreciation? The answer is yes. So if there is a necessity that you need to keep something as an emergency, then you will be eligible to claim depreciation on that machinery also, even though it is not actively used. It is kept in your factory, it is kept in your office in the form of a passive use. Is it clear? One more thing which I would like to address over, Vignesh, where are you? One more thing which I would like to address over here with respect to use. With respect to use, there was one assessee who purchased a plant and machinery. Okay. Now let me give you a very practical example of today's life. There was one assessee who purchased a plant and machinery for manufacturing ketchup. Manufacturing what? Ketchup. Now ketchup is made of what? Tomatoes. And tomatoes are making history in this country, right? I don't know whether you are aware of this or not. Is tomato making history? Right now, it is crossed how much? 200 rupees per kg in some of the states, right? Now that is because of two reasons. That is because of rains in some of the state, floods in some of the states, and also because of the hoarders. Okay, there's some people who are hoarding also, because of which the prices have increased. Just a second, Prashant. Just let me complete, and then I will take your view. So this tomato is becoming very, very expensive. Okay, and therefore there is what? A shortage of tomato. Okay, because of shortage only it is increasing. If there would have been ample amount of tomato, why the prices would have increased, right? So I purchased machinery. I want to make ketchup. For that, the raw material is tomatoes, but the raw material is in shortage. Because of that, I am not able to manufacture. Okay. So can I say because of extraordinary reason I am not able to manufacture? Yeah. Yes or no? That is not in my control now. So the Madras High Court has said that if you are not able to manufacture because of what? Some extraneous reasons like shortage of raw material, then in that case you are eligible for what? Depreciation. We will be allowing you the depreciation. Now it's a well-versed fact that in this month, that is the current month, there is a huge amount of shortage of tomato. It's a well-versed fact across the country. Everybody knows. Even the assessing officer would know, na? He also know that. He's also part of this country only. He also buys tomato. He knows that there was a shortage during this period. And that is the reason because of which the assessee was not able to do the production. So the government has given a judgment on this very long back. That was in respect of some other raw material, not in respect of tomato. but right now tomato would suit our situation. That is the reason I've said that. So that was in respect of some other raw material, whereby the court said that, Madras High Court said that if there is a shortage of raw material because of which you are not able to do production, so in that case, the department will allow you the depreciation, because that is not because of your mistake. It is because of the paucity or shortage of raw materials. Okay. So you'll be getting the depreciation on that particular case. Is it clear to everyone? Now, next, there are two issues which I am putting in front of you. If you guys can answer, great, or else I will be speaking. There is a lease transaction which one is doing, lease transaction. There is a possessee who is engaged in the business of lease. Okay, I am a leasing company. So in leasing company, there are two parties, one is lessor, one is lessee. Okay, and lessor is giving the assets on lease to lessee. Obviously, in case of lessee, the lessee will return back the asset after the lease period is over. Okay. So now the question which came in front of CBDT was, who will claim depreciation in case of lease transaction? Can you please tell me? There is a CBDT circular which came in 2001, but I want your answer. Then we'll address what the CBDT has to say.
I mean, this is just my opinion, but based on what Palaniappan said, substance or form. So if it's a financial lease, it's just a financing transaction.
No, I did not say it's a financing lease. If it would have been a financing lease, the asset wouldn't have been returned.
Yeah. So
Right now, Prashant?
yeah, so if it's an operating lease, then of course the lessor would charge.
Who will claim depreciation? Yes, yes, Prashant. Okay, Palani, Vignesh?
Lessor.
Lessor will claim depreciation, and CBDT has also given the circular on the same. Okay. They have said that in case of lease transaction, it is the lessor who is going to claim depreciation. Now, let me ask you another question. There is a hire purchase transaction. Okay. In hire purchase, there are two parties. One is called as vendor, another is called as purchaser, right? So in this case, who is going to claim depreciation? What do you feel? Who is eligible to claim depreciation in this case? Purchaser. There is a CBDT circular which came long back, around 80 years back, in 1943. Yeah?
Based on whether the possession has been transferred, sir. Possession.
I am not getting into the ifs and buts. Just in general, tell me. We will take the ifs and buts case in a while.
What's the difference between a hire purchase transaction and an operating lease?
It's great. It's very different. You know, in case of an operating lease, you have to return the asset. In case of hire purchase transaction, the purchaser will take the asset at the end of the last installment. Right?
So
Palani?
is it hire or purchase or hire and purchase?
It is hire purchase in general. There is nothing like or and in between, I guess. It is more an accounting concept rather than a taxation concept. Okay. I think so. You would have done all these things long back, but I guess Vignesh and Palani would have done it in CA, entered the accounting also of these chapters, right?
25 years.
Yeah. That's the reason you are not well versed with these concepts as of now. It's okay. So, what do you feel, Palani, Vignesh? Who will? Purchaser will claim. I am just asking in general, no if, no but. We will take the ifs and buts case in a while. We'll take a case in a while, whereby we'll take the facts of the case. Obviously, you cannot answer these questions without the facts and circumstance of the case. We'll put one case, very important Supreme Court judgment, which is relevant for exam also, and also to build the concept of this particular thing. So in this case, the CBDT has said that by default, in case of hire purchase, it is the hire purchaser who will claim depreciation and not the vendor. Okay. Now, let me put one case law in front of you, which is a very important case law with respect to this issue only. So if by default, nothing is mentioned in the question in the exam, you would say without thinking anything, in case of lease transaction, lessor will claim. In case of hire purchase transaction, purchaser will claim. Okay. If nothing is mentioned in the question. Okay. Now coming back to what? Coming back to one important case law. There was one company by the name called as ICDS Limited. Listen carefully. It's a very, very beautiful case. ICDS Limited is a company. It's a finance company. It's a finance company. It's an NBFC. Now, what does this company do? This company is an assessee. And there is a customer of the company. Listen carefully, please. Now, this company is engaged in leasing of cars. What? Listen carefully. Leasing of car means for how much time, sir? For a very large period of time. Maybe for minimum 3 years, maybe for maximum 7 years. So they are engaged in leasing of cars for a very large period of time. Generally, in case of luxury cars, if you see now, this leasing concept is very famous in case of luxury cars. Because luxury cars, suppose if you go and buy a BMW, the very basic BMW, if you go and buy in a showroom, it starts with 60 lakh rupees. So now for buying a BMW of 60 lakh rupees, you have to shell out at least 1 lakh rupees a month in the form of EMIs and insurance and maintenance and other factors. So there's a lot of money which you have to give in the form of what? In the form of different kind of expenses. So BMW come up with a plan called as BMW 360 plan. In that what happens? BMW tells us that you take the car, say for 3 years or say for 4 years. Okay. And you pay me 40,000 rupees every month. Okay. Or 50,000 rupees every month. Okay. For 4 years. And every year I will allow you 10,000 kilometer running, which is more than sufficient for a normal person. So I took that BMW on a 360 leasing plan. So every month I have only one headache. That is I have to pay 50,000 rupees to BMW. After that, I don't have to pay any maintenance cost, any service cost, any insurance cost, any EMI, nothing has to be paid. Which otherwise would have shell out around 1 lakh rupees a month if I would have directly bought the BMW from BMW. Now, after 4 years, what will happen? BMW will come to my house and will take the car back. Okay. After 4 years, if I want to upgrade my car, I can upgrade to a higher version of BMW. Again, I will take on lease. I don't have the headache of selling the old car and then realizing the money and then again buying the new car. All those things are removed. Plus, especially business people get great benefits. Why? Because it is in the form of leasing. So they take the entire lease rentals as what? As a business expense, right? Otherwise, in case you buy the asset, you will get the depreciation of that asset, right? Here you will get the entire rentals as what? As your deductions. So that would be another benefit for you. So this company is engaged in leasing of cars, whereby they will lease you for long-term purpose, and then after the lease period is over of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, they will return you back. The customers will return you back. So now listen carefully. The customer came to assessee and said that I want one BMW. Okay. And therefore the assessee said that, okay, we will give you BMW on what? Leasing, plus the registration of the car will be, what do you feel? It will be in whose name? Assessee's name or customer name? This is the catch over here. Listen carefully. As per the Motor Vehicle Act, the Motor Vehicle Act says that if you give your vehicle on lease to someone for a long period, okay, the registration has to be in the name of the customer and not in the name of the assessee. It is the requirement of Motor Vehicle Act 1988. Now, let me tell you why. The reason is very simple. Because for the next 4 years, who is going to run the car? The customer. If something happens, who should be blamed? The customer has to be blamed. And believe me, it's a white plated car. Huh? It's not a yellow plated car. It's not a tourist car. It is it is as good as you are a owner of car. It is just that after 4 years, BMW also gives you an option that after 4 years, because you have paid lesser amount, right, every month. So after 4 years, you pay say 20 lakh rupees and take the car. Buyback amount. Are you clear? So they give you that option also. After 4 years, you have two options: either to leave the car and forget about what you have paid over the last 4 years, or if you really like that car, if you have emotional attachment with that car, you can pay 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, whatever is their buyback value, and take the car. So this is a very important catch, that the name of the customer has to be there in the registration certificate. Is it clear?
Long period means what is the long period?
Long period means something whereby you are giving on lease for say 6 months, 8 months. There are two types of rental cars. Now, one you get what for I want to go to chill out. I want to go to Mahabaleshwar to chill out for 5 days. Okay. So in that case, white plated car cannot be given. In that case, the rental agencies will always give you what? Yellow plated car. So where you are engaged in the agency of what? Giving white plated car, which will be minimum 12 months is the period of that particular company. They will not give you for less than 12 months. At least 12 months they will give you. Now, And this will be absolutely new car. Let me give you one more information. They will give you a brand new factory car. It's not that they are going to give you a used. Nobody in this world would come to know except you and the BMW that this car is on lease. I don't want to say anything else. Except you and BMW, nobody would come to know that this car is on lease. Everybody would feel that you have bought this car. And actually, you have bought this car. Indirectly, you have bought only. You are bearing the burden of that EMI now for the next 4 years, and you are not getting anything after 4 years. That is also a cost, right? If you pay 1 lakh rupees a month, then you will at least have an asset after 4 years, right? That asset you are sacrificing. So this has been done for the sake of what? Increasing the business, and it has been a very famous model in India in case of luxury cars, and many luxury companies do that. Now even non-luxury companies have also started to do it, whereby the EMIs are slightly lower. Now the assessee, after leasing the car, this is the nature of, did you understand the nature of business of the assessee? The assessee, after leasing the car, obviously took what? Depreciation. Now the department came into picture, and the department said that there are twin conditions to be fulfilled to claim depreciation. What are the twin conditions? You need to be owner of the asset. Second, you need to use the asset. Now the department is raising question on ownership. What is the question on ownership? Department is saying you are not the owner. The owner is what? In the paper, who is the owner? In the paper, who is the owner? Customer is the owner in the paper. Second question which was raised by department. Let's see my gestures. Department is saying you are not driving the car. You are not having the steering in your hand. The steering is in whose hand? Customer. It means it is used by whom? It is actual usage is by customer only now of that car. Actual usage on the road. It is by whom? Customer. The matter went to Supreme Court in 2012. And the Supreme Court, what assessee has to do? Assessee has to prove that assessee is the owner. Assessee has to prove that assessee is using. If he proves these 2 points, he will claim depreciation. That's it. Car is an eligible asset. We all know that, right? 15% depreciation you can claim. Yes or no? Therefore, what do you feel? Is assessee going to fulfill these 2 conditions, or is not going to fulfill these 2 conditions?
Use is pretty easy. Use is definitely, you don't need to yourself use, even if you lease it out, the other person uses.
Prashant has given a very beautiful answer. Partly he has answered for the purpose of use. Prashant said that it is illogical to say that you should only hold the steering, right? Use does not mean actual usage. Use means in the course of business, right? Now, what is the business of the assessee? What is the business of the assessee? Leasing. In case of leasing, I cannot drive the car myself now. If I am into a leasing business, what is the use of my asset? When can I say when can I say a lessor is using the asset? By himself using. A lessor can say what? When can a lessor say that he is using the asset? When he is actually leasing out, right? That itself is the use for him now. So the court said very clearly, the word use does not mean actual usage by the assessee. The word use means in the course of the business. Is the assessee using the cars in the course of leasing business? In the course of leasing business, is the assessee using the cars? The answer is yes. Therefore, use does not mean that you should hold the steering. It is illogical now. If I am into a leasing business and if I am only driving the car, then how the hell my business will run? Then how my business will run? So the assessing officer is illogical to raise such questions. Okay. Coming to the second point. So assessee won this particular hearing. Obviously, the judgments in the court goes hearing by hearing, hearing by hearing, hearing by hearing. It goes months and months and months, right? So assessee won this hearing. And assessee proved that he is what? The actual user of the car. Okay. Secondly, the second challenge in front of the assessee was, is he the owner of the car? So what do you feel? Is he the owner of the car? Is he the owner of the car? Let me give you some facts. So judge said that, judge said to the assessee, I want to see the leasing agreement. Can judge call for the leasing agreement? So judge called for the leasing agreement. And in the leasing agreement, it was written that the NBFC is the owner. It was written in the leasing agreement. Okay. Secondly, it was written in the agreement that after the tenure of the leasing, the customer will return the car. Okay. It was written in the agreement. Further, it was written in the agreement in case of default by the customer, NBFC has absolute hypothecation on the asset and it can repossess the vehicle. Okay. Further, it was also written in the agreement, NBFC has right to inspect the vehicle at any point of time. Does this not prove that the assessee has dominance over the asset? Does this not prove that? And therefore, the assessee proved that he is the owner. And the assessee further said that the name of the customer in the Motor Vehicle Act is just a formality as per the Motor Vehicle Act. It is not as per the income tax law. And therefore, owner means beneficial owner and not legal owner. And the court said that the proof of ownership lies in the agreement itself. We don't have to go here and there. We have to just read the agreement properly. We'll come to know who is the owner. And therefore, assessee proved this point also. And therefore, the assessee claimed what? The depreciation on this particular vehicle on leasing of cars. You can just read this particular paragraph from year to year. Whatever I have said you'll find all of them here. On page number 2.2. So this case law, you read it side by side and also listen to me. This case law tells us that it's not that easy to say that who is going to claim that. And one more important fact which I didn't say you are. Let me just wait, then you can continue reading. Just listen, just listen. In this case, even the lessee was not claiming depreciation. It means lessee does not consider himself as what? Owner of the lessee is not claiming. You are not allowing to lesser. Then who is going to claim? There has to be some person in this world now who is the owner of the asset. Lessee himself does not consider himself as an owner, and assessing officer is not giving the benefit to the lesser. That is absolutely wrong. If lessee would have claimed depreciation, then that would have been a different case. Then the case would have been strong at department side, right? Department could have raised that point. See, lessee is claiming, it means he is considering himself as an owner. Then the court would have decided who is correct. That is also an important fact in this particular case. So who is owner, who is not, who is lesser, who is lessee, who will claim depreciation is a matter of facts and circumstance of every case. Okay. Shall we go ahead? Yeah.
The standard financial leases that we come across when you buy a car or something, which is so prominent. I mean, ICICI, HDFC, and all these loans whenever you go and buy a car. I mean, I don't have a business, so I didn't claim any depreciation. But those who have a business, would they be considered as an owner for this
No,
financial?
no. Income tax law in the case of the CBDT has clarified it very clearly. You can see whether it is a finance lease or operating lease, the lessor is going to claim the depreciation.
So even if there's no option to repurchase, and it's in
Maybe you can challenge, in the court, because ultimately it's a CBDT circular, not binding on me, right? It's not. Prashant has asked a question which I would like to tell everyone, because if the other side people don't know the question, they will not understand my explanation also. Prashant has asked a question that if there is a company who is buying something on a finance lease, will they be able to claim depreciation? Okay, that's the question, right, Prashant?
Yeah.
So CBDT says very clearly no. Whether it is operating lease or finance lease, who is going to claim? Lesser. But it's a CBDT circular. Don't take it very seriously.
This is a very important have there been any cases?
Yes, there are cases where the lessee has claimed. Don't worry, and there are judgments. Like in this case, I can, if twist the facts, lessee would get the benefit. Sir, already circular indicates lesser to claim depreciation, then why are they challenging on use of point? The reason is, Palani, you have asked a good question, because if the lessee has invested a hefty amount in the asset, then he would also like to claim depreciation, right? Why will he not claim the depreciation if he has invested a hefty amount in a particular asset? And lessee will think from his perspective, not from lessor's perspective. Lessee will think from, if I am buying an asset, I will not think from the perspective of a bank, na, what he is doing. I will think from my perspective what I can do, what is the benefit that I can take out of that asset. Okay. So that is the reason we can challenge this circular, and there are people who have challenged this. Let me give you an example by twisting this case. If this case would have said that the asset should not be returned at the end of the tenure, then entire case would have been twisted over here. If at the end of the lease period, if the vehicle shouldn't have been returned to the assessee, it means who is the more owner towards this asset? Who is more owner towards this asset? It is the lessee, because lessee is not supposed to return that asset to the what? To the lessor. Then it can be considered to be an outright sale by the lessor to the lessee. Yes or no? So according to the facts and circumstances, the things can change. Definitely. That is how, just a second, person. That will depend upon how good a lawyer you hire to defend your particular case. Yes, please, you can ask.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, if the lessor claims depreciation, in that case, for the lessee, it would be a rental agreement.
It will be, if a lessor claims depreciation, for lessee, it would be a rental agreement, and the lessee could claim the rentals in section 37(1) of the income tax law.
And if the lessee claims depreciation in certain cases, in that case, the amounts that the lessee pays, it has to be divided between principal and interest. And
Right, and interest will be considered to be his income. Okay. So,
Lessee can claim both the lease rentals and the depreciation, sir.
no, he cannot claim both. He cannot, that is, lessee cannot claim lease rentals as well as depreciation, because at one time you can either say I am owner or I am not an owner. You cannot say that I am not an owner, still I would claim depreciation and I would claim lease rentals also. That is not practically possible, right? If you are claiming lease rentals, then you are self-disclosing that you are not an owner, right? And if you are claiming depreciation, then you are self-disclosing you are an owner, right? Then you cannot claim lease rentals. You have to claim either of them. That too, it is not a choice at your end, that which is more beneficial, I'll claim that. You have to see which is more suitable for your case as per the income tax law. Okay. If you are an owner, then you can claim the depreciation. If you are not an owner, then you can claim what? The lease rentals. Okay. In both the case, obviously the lessee has to be a business assessee. If the lessee is like Prashant, then in that case, if Prashant is a salaried assessee, for example, then it doesn't matter only to the salaried assessee whether it is a lease rental or whether it is a depreciable asset, because for salaried assessee, both the benefits are not available. Okay. Now, coming to next one very important discussion, which we are starting now. So, we are starting now the second depreciation, because it might help us to some extent in some of the other provisions as well. And the second depreciation, which I have told you yesterday, was about what? Additional depreciation. Okay. So, additional depreciation. This additional depreciation concept came in Finance Act 2005, and it was brought by P. Chidambaram. Now, why it was brought? Listen carefully. It was brought to give a boom, to give an encouragement to manufacturing sector and to power sector. So, if you are engaged in manufacturing of any article or thing, or if you are engaged in generation of power or distribution of power or transmission of power, and if you purchase a new plant and machinery, then the department will give you an additional depreciation of what? 20% over and above the normal depreciation which you get. Okay. Normal depreciation you will get only, but over and above that you will get 20% additional depreciation also. So I don't want to say much about this section as of now. I would like to read it once, and then we'll have a discussion on what exactly this section has to say. So you can come to page number 2.6 and we all can read from here till here. This is the main section of additional depreciation. So let's read it once, And then we will resolve what exactly this provision wants to tell you, what are the conditions, what is the objective behind bringing this provision. So let's read together. Please pay attention. In case of any, there are some provisos also below. We'll see that after some time. Okay. After we complete the main section. In case of any new machinery or plant, other than ships and aircrafts, which has been acquired and installed by an assessee, engaged in the business of manufacturer or production of any article or thing, or in the business of generation, transmission, or distribution of power, a further sum equal to 20% of the actual cost of such machinery or plant shall be allowed as deduction under section 32(1) subsection 2. I request you all to go through this section once. I just made a casual read. I have not explained anything. I want you all to read it, whatever I have read so far, which is there in this circle. Just read it once, and then we will have a in-depth discussion of this particular provision. Mute, Prashant, mute.
Is this a 32(1)(2) or 1(2)(a)?
Everything is correct in the book. If it is incorrect, I would let you know. But a good question. What you asked, Prashant, is a part of my discussion.
Thanks, sir.
Done? Now, shall I ask you some questions then? With respect to this section, are you ready? The first question is something which I have already answered and which is on the board. What is the nature of business that you are supposed to be in? If you want to claim additional depreciation under the income tax law, please,
Or in manufacturing.
you should be manufacturer or power generation. Only power generation or power distribution is also sufficient. Transmission, distribution, all of them relating to power, whatever you can do. Okay. My second question to all of you. What am I supposed to manufacture? Can I manufacture alcohol, tobacco? I will get additional depreciation if I am manufacturer of tobacco. Don't read ahead. Whatever is there in the circle, only read that much.
Yes, sir. Any product.
Article or
Any article would be sufficient. Any legal article, obviously illegal, not drugs, obviously. That is something which is illegal, right? Any legal article is allowed. Alcohol is allowed, yes, allowed in most of the states. Tobacco is allowed, yes, it is allowed. Otherwise, cigarette wouldn't be manufactured, right? So there is no restriction on any article. Okay, shall I go ahead? Third condition, be very careful. To claim additional depreciation, I am supposed to buy what? I am supposed to invest in what? What is the nature of asset?
new plant.
I am supposed to purchase new plant and machinery, right?
Some ships and aircraft.
We'll come to the exception in a while, Palani. Just wait. We'll come to the exceptions, okay? We are supposed to purchase new plant and machinery except certain assets. We'll come to that in a while. That is the next discussion. My important question to you all is, listen carefully now. This is the real interpretation of the law and the question which Prashant raised at the beginning of the section. Am I supposed to use the asset to claim additional depreciation? Is usage a criteria?
No, sir. Acquired and installed.
Did you understand my question? Is it sufficient if I acquire and install, I need not use it, still I can claim the depreciation, additional depreciation? For normal depreciation, we know that. We need to claim what? We need to claim depreciation, normal depreciation only after use. But for additional depreciation, am I supposed to use it?
You should also use it because the same thing that I said, the reason why it's 32(1)(2) is that you have to fulfill the conditions of 32(1)(2) as well. And on top of that, 32(1)(2)(a), and then only you can get this additional.
Excellent answer by Prashant. If you read the provision carefully, Palani, Vignesh, it is written in the last line, last two lines. A further sum equal to 20% of the actual cost of such machinery or plant shall be allowed as deduction under which section? 32(1), 32(1), 1(2) matlab this one na. It means this one na. That is your main section, right? It means the benefit is allowed in this section only. The benefit is allowed under the original section only. And the original section tells you that the asset should be owned as well as used. It means for additional depreciation also you need to what? Use the asset as well as what? Own the asset. You have to use the asset and own the asset. This section is only brought to tell you the additional conditions. What is the additional condition to claim 20%? You need to be manufacturer, you need to buy new plant and machinery, you need to be power generator, yes or no? Rest of the original conditions have to be fulfilled, which you fulfill to claim what? The normal depreciation. Are you clear? Right? Now comes the most important question for us. Again, I am asking the next question which I have just asked. What is the nature of asset? Now you can tell with your open heart. New plant and machinery, right? Is there any exception given by the law? Ships, aircrafts, not allowed, right? Now don't read anything beyond this. Please tell me what is the objective of this section. Why extra incentive? Why? Why?
To improve production, sir.
To improve production. Why? Why? What will happen because of increase in production?
Cycle.
Obviously, the economy will grow, right? Why the government of India today is focusing on Make in India, Make in India? Why they are inviting all the countries' big manufacturer to India? Why? Why? Because they want that to be happening in India, because that will generate employment, right? One of the important source of employment even today is manufacturing sector only. You cannot deny this fact. Labor class cannot work in service sector, na beta. Labor class has nothing to do with service sector, na, and India is still a labor oriented economy. It is not still a service oriented, because majority of the people are still poor in this country, right? Are below the poverty line. So they are not skilled, they are unskilled. Therefore, having a good manufacturing sector, have a good infrastructure for manufacturing is absolutely important. You have to give incentives to the manufacturing sector. That is the reason since 2005 this section was brought. It has never been revoked by the government of India. It has never been removed by the government of India. It is always kept as it is. Now let's misuse it. Okay. Let's misuse it.
What we are very good at doing.
Yes. How people used to misuse it, and then the government has to come up with an amendment. Now let me ask you one more question. Why they are emphasizing that you should buy a machinery and not furniture and building? Why? Because furniture and building are not directly related to manufacturing, right? What is directly related to manufacturing? Is machineries. So their objective was what? What do you think? What would have been there in the mind of the finance minister when he was bringing this provision to give benefits on which machineries?
Production generated.
Which will be production generated machineries, right? So it is very clear to everybody that ships and aircraft doesn't help in production under any circumstance. Is it very clear to everyone? Absolute clear? Is there any second thought to anyone that ships can also help in production directly? Indirectly, to every asset can help. Indirectly, to even office computer will also help, right? Directly, is the ship and aircraft going to help you? Now, that is the reason they were very clear about it, and that is the reason they have excluded ships and aircraft from the very main section itself. Okay. From the very main section, they have removed ships and aircraft. Okay. Now, I'm asking you a question of interpretation of law. I don't know whether you will be able to interpret or not, but try at least. Suppose there is Reliance Industries Limited, RIL. Reliance is engaged in production of what? Natural gas, Agreed? So is production of natural gas eligible for additional depreciation?
Yes, sir.
Why not? Any article or thing, right? Why not? Now listen carefully. Now that is Mukesh Ambani. Suppose Reliance Industries Limited has bought a Mercedes Maybach S680 worth rupees 6 crore. Obviously, Reliance Industry will buy car in the name of Reliance Industry only. Mukesh Ambani will not buy car in his personal name. He is not fool enough to do all such things. He will buy car in the name of company only, and he will claim all kind of benefits that a person can claim. Obviously, he will get normal depreciation, right? Nobody can stop him to claim normal depreciation of 15%. Agreed? My question to you all is whether he will get additional depreciation of 20%. Listen to me, don't answer so fast. By reading this circle, the main provision, please. You have to go line by line.
No.
Please say whether he can claim depreciation of additional depreciation in case of his car.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yes, sir. He can claim.
he can claim. Palani, how come?
He's engaged. I mean, it is used in the business, sir, but it is used in the business, and the business is manufacturing with Reliance Industries.
Okay, let's see line by line. Okay, whether if first of all, do you agree if I fulfill from year till year, then I will, nobody can stop me. I'm just asking if I fulfill these 5-6 lines, then nobody can stop me. If I fulfill each and every word of this line. Let's see. In case of new plant and machinery, is the car new plant and machinery?
Yes.
Is a car plant or machinery? Obviously, it has to be either building, furniture, plant or machinery. It is a plant and machinery we have seen yesterday, right? It comes under that block. It's a plant and machinery. Is it other than ship and aircraft? Which has been acquired. Is it acquired? A car cannot be installed. Okay, a car is not an asset which can be installed. Okay, so we can ignore that word. Every machinery need not be installed. Some of the machineries can be directly bought and can put to use. Yes or no? It is not necessary that every machinery need not be has to be installed. Some of the machineries are installed, some of the machineries are purchased and put to direct use. But is the car used?
Yes, sir.
It's used because usage is also a criteria, right? Is the car owned by the company? Yes, that is also criteria. Now listen, now the key point where the Reliance has misused the provision is here. Is it by an assessee?
Yes.
Who is the assessee?
Company RIL.
RIL. Engage in the business of manufacturing. Is the assessee engaged in the business of manufacturing?
Yes.
Yes. Rest of the things are easily fulfilled. The point which the government missed over here is they did not mention over here that the asset should be in use of production. I don't know whether you got this point or not. They did not. They said the assessee should be a manufacturer. Is Reliance a manufacturer? Yes. They did not mention that the asset should be used in what? Manufacturing. Similarly, I will ask you another question. Forget about this expensive asset. Let's talk about there is some air condition which is purchased for Mukesh Ambani in his cabin. Okay. So will that air condition also fulfill this condition? Yes or no? So the assessee started saying that where it is written that the assessee should use the new machinery for production. Is it written? It is only written that the assessee should be a producer, right? Is the assessee a producer? The answer is yes. So the government said that yeah, people are misusing this. So they came up with a proviso, which is there below. Okay. To give you what? A negative list of assets. Now, two assets are already out of question, which is in the main provision itself, right? Which are the two assets? Ships and aircraft. Apart from that, also the government later realized that all the assets apart from ships and aircraft need not be used in factory, right? There are many other assets which are used other than factory, in office, in residential house, accommodation, guest house. So we cannot give additional depreciation on all those assets because the entire objective of giving additional depreciation will be defeated. If a Mukesh Ambani is buying a Mercedes Maybach, it has nothing to do with increase in production, yeah. That cannot increase the production of the company. Therefore, there is a negative list, which we have to see very carefully because this is academically very important. Institute will ask questions based on this. So you have to decide whether that machinery which is going to be given in the exam is eligible for additional depreciation or not. Shall we read? The very first machinery, please read, all of you, and tell me what does it talk about. It talks about something which is already said in the main section, but in a slightly clarified manner. The main section tells you machinery should be of what kind? New machinery. But here they have further clarified. Some people used to say what? What do you know? They used to claim in front of, they used to argue unnecessarily in front of the government. They used to import second-hand machinery from Germany. Okay. Now we all know that Germans are best in making machineries across the world. Okay. Any kind of machinery, if you ask me, one of the best place to make machineries is German. So some assessors used to make argument that buying a second-hand machinery from Germany is far better than buying a new machinery from India. And that is true to some extent. Yes, it is true, definitely. Buying a second-hand BMW is any day better than, is still powerful than buying a Tata car. That we have to accept this fact, okay? Because they have a different kind of machinery infrastructure in their country. But the government is very clear. Second-hand means second-hand. We are not going to accept any kind of second-hand machinery. So this point tells us that even if you import a second-hand machinery, you will not be allowed what? Please say. And you have to buy it new. Whether you buy from India or whether you import, you can import it. It's your choice. But even if you are importing, it has to be a first-hand machinery. Is it clear to everyone? Now, second kind of machinery which is excluded. Any machinery or plant installed in any office premise. Here, what your come? Your AC will come, your refrigerator will come, etc., right? Or any residential accommodations. Again, your AC, refrigerator, microwave, including accommodation in the nature of guest house. Any office appliance like telephone, etc., all these things are office appliances. Or road transport vehicle. Mukesh Ambani's car is now getting removed from here. Is it clear? So, car will not be eligible for what? Additional depreciation. So, I would like to ask you all one question. It is very clearly written road transport vehicle. So, suppose there is a factory and inside the factory there is a forklift trucks. I don't know whether you know what is forklift trucks. Have you heard about forklift trucks? Sir, what is a forklift trucks? A forklift trucks is a small vehicle which is used inside the factory to transport good from one place to another. It is not for public use. It is for within the factory. So think and apply your mind and tell me whether forklift trucks would be eligible for additional depreciation. Yes? Yes, it will be. It's because it is not what? What is excluded from additional depreciation is road transport vehicle. Is forklift truck a road transport vehicle? Is it running on a road? It is not for general use. It is for specific use inside the factory. And therefore, whatever vehicles which are used inside the factory will be eligible for what? Additional depreciation. It is written in your book. Don't worry. I'll show you where it is written. You need not have to mention it. Next, last point is also very, very important. Let me read it once and then I'll give you an example. Any machinery or plant, the whole of the actual cost of which is allowed as deduction by way of depreciation or otherwise in computing the income chargeable under the head profits and gains from business and profession of any one previous year. Now, what do I mean by this? Suppose I bought a plant and machinery of 100 crores. Okay. And I am also engaged in what? Scientific research. Now, you might be knowing, you might have learned in that in CA Inter that if you are engaged in scientific research, you get 100% deduction of the machinery. Do you know that? Yes or no? So, there should be absolutely for no further deduction on this particular asset because already if you have claimed 100% deduction on your asset, you should be having some kind of courtesy here. in life. Yes, that if you are claiming 100% benefit on an asset, now you further want further 20% on as what? As additional, not allowed. Okay, not allowed. In fact, on such assets on which 100% depreciation is claimed, now 100% deduction is claimed. On such assets, not even normal depreciation is allowed to the assessee. It is written in scientific research section 35, that even normal depreciation, because you have already claimed your full asset, right? You have claimed the asset to its full capacity, yes or no? So now the question of depreciation does not arise only. Forget about additional depreciation, even normal depreciation would not be allowed. Is it clear? Yes, Prashant.
I just have a trivial question, just a clarification that this additional depreciation is not over and above 100.
No, it's not over and yes, a very good question asked by Prashant. Is additional depreciation over and above 100%? No, no, no. It is going to be within part of your cost of asset. Suppose if you are buying an asset of 100 crores, in the first year you are going to get how much depreciation? 15% normal depreciation, 15 crore, right? And additional depreciation 20 crore. So your WDV at the end of the first year will become 65 crore. Okay, right? It means additional depreciation is not over and above 100 crores. It is just that if additional depreciation would have not been there, then I would have got what? 15 crore as normal depreciation, but the WDV of next year would have been higher, na? So additional depreciation is not an extra benefit. It's a preponement of benefit. Did you understand what I said? It's a preponement of benefit. For example, if you are, I'm putting the numbers on board, that will clarify the things in a simplified manner. Buying an 100 crore asset, 15 crore normal depreciation, 20 crore additional depreciation. The WDV for next year is 65 crore, right? So if additional depreciation would have not been there, then 15 crore normal depreciation, additional depreciation not there, 85 crore would have been the WDV of the next year, right? So in the next year, I would have got more of normal depreciation and less of normal depreciation over here, right? Yes or no? Because in the next year, I would get 65 crore ka 15%. Here, I would get 85 crore ka 15%. So, in the next year, what extra normal depreciation I would have got, that I have already taken in the form of additional depreciation in the first year, right? So, it's just a preponement of benefit. Some people also call this as an accelerated depreciation. What? Actually, the correct name is accelerated depreciation only. It's not additional. Because it is accelerating the depreciation in initial years. Are you clear? It's not over and above 100 rupees. Be very clear. Okay. Shall I go ahead? So this is the list, which is negative list. Apart from this, you will get depreciation on any new plant and machinery except this list. Shall I ask you some question? Will I get additional depreciation on computer which is kept in office? No. Will I get additional depreciation on computer which is kept in factory? The answer is yes. Yes. Will I get additional depreciation on windmill? You have a negative list. You have to check that and answer. Will I get additional depreciation on windmill? Say with confidence, Palhani. Definitely you will get. Windmill is not excluded from the definition.
Can we say electricity is an article or thing?
Electricity is not article thing, but production of power is separately mentioned, na? That is the reason production of power is separately mentioned. Electricity is not article and thing. It's an intangible thing, right? But power generation assessors are also covered in this section or not? Right? But plus windmill is not only used by person who is engaged in power generation. Windmill can also be used by person who is making cars. Why? For captive use of the production. Yes or no? I am a car manufacturer. Okay. I want electricity for car manufacture. For that, I purchase windmill for captive use of my production. They will get or not additional depreciation of 20%. So there is a great benefit. Normal depreciation 40, additional 20, 60% total first year. Are you able to understand? Because windmill is eligible for 40%, na? Similarly, computers which are used in factory, 60% in first year, 20 plus 40. There is a very good question based on that in the question bank. We'll do that after the chapter completes, not now. Okay, which will test your knowledge of depreciation and additional depreciation at the same time. Is it clear to everyone? Shall I go ahead? The next part of the discussion is, suppose I purchased a new plant and machinery on 15th of July 2023 and I put to use that on 15th of December 2023. The cost of the asset is 10 lakh rupees. I am a manufacturer. My question to you all is, will I get in previous year 2023-24? How much normal depreciation I will get? Please tell me. How much normal depreciation I will get? 7.5%, right? That will be 775,000, correct?
Correct.
Second question. In this year, how much additional depreciation I will get?
10%.
The question is, will additional depreciation also become half? And the answer is yes, additional depreciation will also become half. Okay? If the asset is put to use for less than 180 days in that previous year. Don't forget that line. Okay? So this will come to how much? 1 lakh. Till here, there is no issue. Now the main question is, what about the balance 10%? Yes or no? What about the balance 10% of additional depreciation? Additional depreciation is 20%, na? Normal though you will get every year, right? But additional is a one-time benefit. You're not going to get additional benefit every year. So what about the balance 10% of additional depreciation? Don't worry. For that, there is a proviso which is given below. You can read this proviso once at your end. Fast. What will happen with the balance 10% of the depreciation? That is the balance 1 lakh rupee. What will happen? It will be allowed in the immediately next year. Yes or no? It will be allowed in the next year. Don't worry. Okay. So how it will be done? Pay attention. What is the cost of your asset? 10 lakhs. How much normal depreciation? 75,000. How much additional depreciation? 1 lakh. Okay. So now the WDV in the next year will be 8,25,000, right? So in the next year, you will get normal depreciation plus whatever is the normal depreciation, 15% of 825, right? Plus how much additional depreciation? 1 lakh rupees, which you did not get in the last year. Okay. So this is not lapsed. There are two possibilities. Either it could have been lapsed or either it will be allowed in the subsequent year. So the government is allowing you in the subsequent year. Okay. Now, if I go further into the depth of the chapter of the section, this proviso also gives us an indication that the question which I asked you at the beginning, since you guys are trying to understand subject logically and conceptually, I will go further in depth. Listen carefully. This proviso is also telling us what we discussed at the beginning, that it is mandatory to use the asset. Otherwise, this proviso would have not been there. Right or not? Right or not? Yes or no? Is usage a criteria to claim additional depreciation? The answer is yes. Otherwise, this proviso would have not been there, na? Correct? Now, one last thing in this section, that's it. This section will be over. There was one industry which went to CBDT, one specific industry, that is printing industry. Assessees engage in printing or printing and publishing newspaper or books. You might be knowing these people requires heavy machineries to do printings. So they went to CBDT and asked a question whether we are also eligible for what? We are also eligible for what? Additional depreciation. Whether printing or printing and publishing amounts to what? Manufacturing or not. If yes, please clarify us. If no, we will challenge your circular. Okay. We are not going to sit quiet. If you are giving a beneficial circular, we will accept it. Okay. But if you are saying no, printing is not a part of manufacturing, go away from here. We will challenge to the court. Okay. So in 2015, CBDT came up with a circular over here. Just read this circular, please. This circular. and then I will ask you one question. Done? If I'm engaged in printing, am I eligible for additional depreciation? Yes, I am eligible. If I engage in printing and publishing both, I am also a publisher. Am I eligible for additional depreciation?
Yes.
If I engage in only publishing, am I eligible for additional depreciation?
No.
The answer is no. Okay? Because the words used by the law is either you have to be engaged in printing or printing and publishing both. If you are only engaged in publishing, it means you are not doing any manufacturing, you are only doing marketing. Yes or no? Publishers do what? What do publishers do? They only sell the books now on behalf of the author, right? They don't do any kind of manufacturing or any kind of factory work. So if you are only engaged in publishing, don't ask for what? Additional depreciation. So now, if we want to revise this entire discussion within a span of say 5 to 10 minutes, we can come to our color book and you can find out from year till year your entire additional depreciation comprehensively it is covered. I'll let you know how to revise. First of all, the section number, if you wish to remember, well and great. If you don't wish to remember, forget it. Additional depreciation is 20%. You have to acquire, install and use what? New machinery or plant. Okay. Which assessee is eligible? You should be either manufacturer or power generator, transmitter, etc. It is not allowed in case of second-hand plant and machinery, office premise, residential accommodation, ships, aircraft, road transport vehicle, any plant and machinery which is already allowed as 100% deduction. Okay. This is the negative list which is very important for us. It is also subject to 50% proviso. That is, if it is used for less than 180 days, 50%, remaining 50% will be allowed in the immediately next year. Like normal depreciation, it will also be reduced from the block. It is just like a normal depreciation to arrive at WDV. It's a one-time benefit for one asset. Now, this is also important point. Every asset you will get additional depreciation only once. You cannot claim additional depreciation every year on the same asset. Yeah, if you want additional depreciation every year, then buy new machinery every year. Yes? Are you clear? Suppose in the next year also I buy new machinery for production, I will get additional depreciation. Then again in the next year I buy new machinery for production, again I will get additional depreciation. So every machinery you will get only once additional depreciation. Okay. Next, if you are engaged in printing or printing and publishing, therefore it amounts to manufacture and therefore you are eligible for additional depreciation. Okay. Forklift trucks are eligible for additional depreciation, that I have said you earlier only, and I have told you it is written in your books also. Is it clear? So till here we have done everything so far. You can just a second. If only this part is pending, that is how to arrive at WD. Just a second now. Apart from that, from your color book, we have done this, ownership, we have done lease transaction, ICDS case law, what is the meaning of use, we have done this rates of depreciation yesterday only, when it becomes half, plant definition, is it mandatory to claim depreciation, what are the two conditions to claim depreciation? Yes, we have done all of them. This WDV definition is pending, that we are going to start now. And then we did what? This additional depreciation. Yes, please. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me.
Sir, 32A had two clause of rules. Provided further, provided also. Where is that provided that got the first?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You are asking this question because yesterday I only taught you this, right? Very good question. You are saying that this particular section has two provisos, provided further, right? And provided also, right? So before provided further, there has to be one more proviso, right? Because when I say provided further that, it means it is which proviso? Second, and provided also that, it means this is which proviso? Third. So you will ask me where is the first proviso, right? So you can go and check the Bare Act if you want later on, or even now if you want to check, you can check it. The first proviso is there, but it was only applicable till 31st March 2020. Okay. I don't know whether, when you have given CA Inter, in which year?
December 2020, sir.
December 2020. So you would have definitely done this proviso in CA Inter also. I will tell you what. That was a special benefit given to 4 states. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar and West Bengal, 35% additional depreciation if you remember. Right? If you would have done exam, if you have given exam in December 2020, then you would have done that particular proviso also. That was first proviso. Is it clear? But that proviso is not applicable now because that benefit was restricted till which date? 31st March 2020. Therefore, ICI has removed that proviso from the syllabus. Is it clear? I hope you can check in the income tax law. It is mentioned over there. Okay. Now, now we are starting with some real discussion of what? Of the discussion of depreciation. Some hardcore depreciation discussion now. So pay absolute attention now, all of you, please. See on the board, please, all of you. Some really advanced level discussion is going to start now. Come to the very first page of the depreciation, and that is section coming back to 32.12. As I've told you at the beginning only, that majority of the depreciation discussion is about 32.12 only, right? I've told you 32.12a is a minor discussion, and the SLM depreciation or for power generating assets is also a very small part. I've told you 95% of the discussion we have to do from the perspective of 32.12 only, right? Now, just give me a second. I'll bring a glass of water for myself. Now, let us again read section 132 of section 1 clause 2. It is written in this section that in the last 4 lines, depreciation shall be allowed on what? WDV of the block of asset. Okay. So now we need to understand what do you mean by the term WDV. Is the term WDV defined? If yes, how it is defined? What exactly it wants to tell us? Therefore, the term WDV is defined under section 43 clause 6. WDV. Sir, what is WDV? Let me give you a definition of WDV as per the income tax law. One more important thing which I would like to tell you, which I have told you yesterday also, that if there is a definition which is given in between except section 2, then that is a chapter specific definition or that is a section specific definition. Okay. So this is just like the definition of plant. It is a chapter specific definition. Sir, what do we mean by the term WDV? Listen carefully. WDV means actual cost of the asset minus depreciation actually allowed. If you go to the income tax law section 43 clause 6, you will find out this definition. Okay. Listen carefully. Beautiful discussion. Now, how people used to manipulate this definition? Just see. Just try to understand how one can manipulate this definition. You cannot imagine also by reading the definition that we can manipulate this definition to claim tax benefits of crores and crores of rupees. First of all, we need to understand what do we mean by the term actually allowed. What do we mean by the term actually means what? What do I mean by the term actually allowed? Actually allowed means that depreciation which helped me to save tax. Any depreciation that helps me to save tax can be called as actually allowed. What exactly we do for depreciation under the income tax law? We do one simple exercise. This is your P&L account, right? This P&L is as per accounts. In the accounts, there is some depreciation over here, say of 100 rupees. What we do in tax? When we compute our PGBP, okay, we happen to add back this depreciation, right? Yes or no? And then we reduce what? The depreciation which is there as per section 32. Suppose that is 80 rupees, okay? So please tell me, is this 80 rupees helping you to save your tax? Please say na.
Yes.
It is helping us to save the tax. Therefore, this depreciation can be called as what? Depreciation which is what? Actually allowed to me. Any depreciation that is saving your tax in the current year, that can be called as, it will take some time to understand this concept. Let me complete the concept. You will be having absolute clarity, okay? Just try to understand step by step. You cannot understand just by few words of mine. I have to complete the discussion. Only then you will understand what I am trying to say. So this is the definition of WDV. Actual cost minus depreciation actually allowed. Actually allowed. Put special focus on this word. That depreciation which helped me to save tax, that can be called as actually allowed. And any depreciation, I'll go backward now. Any depreciation that helped me to save tax can be called as actually allowed. And if the depreciation is actually allowed, only then it will be reduced from the cost to arrive at what? To arrive at the WDV. So unless and until we prove that the depreciation is what? Actually allowed, it cannot be reduced from the actual cost. Are you clear what I said now, just now? We have to prove that the depreciation is what? Actually allowed, to remove it from the what? Actual cost, to arrive at what? To arrive at what? WDV. I'll be giving some numericals now. Just wait, okay? Even if I say not till 9:30, you will not understand. You will only understand with the help of numericals. I'll give that, but I would like to just create the background first. I do not want to directly go to numerical, so that I can relate the provision with numbers here. I will once again go forward also. I will once again go backward also. Okay. Forward, how can I discuss the provision in a forward manner? What is WDV? WDV means actual cost minus depreciation actually allowed. What is actually allowed? That depreciation which helped me to save tax. Okay. If I go in a backward manner, only that depreciation which helped me to save tax can be reduced from actual cost to arrive at what? The WDV. Okay. Now let's just wait. We'll come back to this paragraph in a while. Let's take an example. See on the board, please, all of you. Suppose there is an assessee, and this is the P&L of an assessee. And this assessee has a sale of, say, 100 lakhs. Okay. And he has an expense of, say, 120 lakhs. It means there is a clear loss to the assessee. Okay. Okay. Now, this assessee has bought a furniture of, say, 100 lakh. We all know that furniture is depreciated at 10% as per income tax law, right? So he will also claim depreciation under income tax law of how much? Of 10 lakhs, right? Now, if I compute his income, he is incurring a loss of 30 lakhs. But income tax law does what? Income tax law divides this loss first of all into two parts. It does not directly carry forward. The loss which is coming because of the expenses. Okay. The loss which is coming because of what? Expense. It is called as what? Business loss. Yes or no? Have we done this or not? So how much loss is coming because of expense? 20 lakhs, right? And this will be set off and carry forward as per the provisions of section 70, 71, 72, something like that. Okay. And the loss that is coming because of what? Depreciation. That will be called as what? Unabsorbed depreciation, right? Have you heard about this concept? And this is 10 lakh rupees. Is it clear? Now see how the assessee is manipulating the things. Huh? Cannot imagine that how people's mind work over there. Now we have computed the P&L. Is it our also duty to compute the WDV of the asset so that we can claim depreciation in the next year? Right? Say na please.
Yes.
So my question is, what is WDV? That is the reason I have told the definition 10 times. What is WDV? Tell actual cost. Just wait. What is the actual cost?
100 lakhs.
100 lakhs is the actual cost of the asset. Minus what?
Actually,
Depreciation. Now don't say any amount. Depreciation actually allowed, right? Don't say any amount. Just wait. Now I have a question to you all. Now I will again repeat this question. Actually allowed means what? That helped me to save tax. Okay, that is which is allowed as a deduction for me so that I can take the tax benefit. Now this is 10 lakh rupees depreciation, right? This is the only depreciation which is there in the current year, na, in my example, right? Is this depreciation allowing me to save tax in the current year?
no.
Or it will be allowed in the future years?
Future years.
Because we are carrying for, because already there is a sufficient loss to make my profit into negative, na? There is already sufficient expense with me to make my profit loss into loss, right? I don't need depreciation ka deduction in the current year, right? Therefore, if I go with the definition of WDV, what is depreciation actually allowed in the current year? 0. And therefore, with that note, how much will be my WDV?
100 lakhs.
It will be 100 lakhs for the next year also. Now, next year, what will happen? Think. Next year, what will I do? On 100 lakhs, I will claim 10% depreciation. And on other hand, I will also carry forward this 10 lakh rupees to the next year. I don't know whether you got this point or not.
Double benefit.
Will I get double benefit on the same asset? Please tell me. Palani.
It's only excess 1 lakh.
Whatever it is excess, na? It is excess or not? It doesn't matter whether it is 1 lakh or 10 lakh or whatever it is. Is it going to be more than what a person should get?
Yes.
Because of what? Because of the wordings of the law. What is WDV? Don't forget this definition ever. Actual cost minus, please say, depreciation actually allowed. Actually allowed means what? Now if I ask you, you will be able to understand everything. Actually allowed means what?
That which helped me to save.
Help me to save tax in the current year. Is the depreciation helping me to save tax? No, there is sufficient expense to claim my profits to 0, to take my profits to 0. Yes, this 10 lakh rupees unabsorbed will help me in the next year. Therefore, if I go as per the regular definition, actual cost minus depreciation actually allowed, the depreciation actually allowed is nil. WDV is 100 and I will take dual benefit in the next year. So the government of India came up with an explanation below section 43(6). Should they make some amendment? Below 43(6), please say. And they brought one explanation. Listen carefully. Explanation 3 to section 43(6). Listen carefully and what they say. They say that unabsorbed depreciation. Listen carefully, Prashant, please see here. Unabsorbed depreciation as per explanation 3 to 43(6). An explanation is a clarification. As per explanation 3 to 43(6), an unabsorbed depreciation is deemed to be actually allowed. What they have said? It is deemed to be actually allowed. It means actual cost is 100 lakhs minus. Now shall I reduce the 10 lakh rupees unabsorbed depreciation because it is deemed to be actually allowed. And now it will become 90 lakhs. Next year's WDV will be 90 lakhs. And next year's UAD will be how much? It will be 10 lakhs. Are you clear? So this is what this particular first exception to the provision is all about. You will find out this exception also over here with the help of an example. I have written over here. You will find out this in the textbook also, but in textbook there is no example. That is the reason I am showing you from here. Okay. This example is here. This is your main provision. And this is your explanation of that provision. Okay. So is this an exception to the norm? Something which is not actually allowed. Still we are reducing from the block of asset. By putting what? Dangerous word. What is that dangerous word? Which the department is using over here is deemed. Deemed. Deemed is a very dangerous word. Deemed means what? Reality or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction. Deemed means fiction, and deemed will be used by the government to what? Most of the cases to reduce the mischief which is done by the SSC. If the department finds that the SSC is engaged into some kind of mischievous activity to evade tax, then the department has the power to invoke what? The deemed word, to create a fiction in the law. Okay. There is one dictionary by the name called as Black Law Dictionary. I don't know whether you have heard about this or not. This is useful for lawyers. Okay. If the lawyers want to understand the meaning of any important term, they will refer this dictionary, Black Law. In that, there is a definition of the term deemed. What do I mean by the term deemed? Deemed means what? So what it is written, there is a very beautiful definition. I'll let you know. I'll write on the board. The word definition means, as per the Black Law dictionary, deemed means what is, what is, what is, not is, not is. What is, let me write completely. Not is, if law says so. I don't know whether you got this paragraph or not. What is, means what is correct is correct.
The first two are general, the third is the exception.
Yes, the first two are general, the third is the exception. What is correct is correct. What is incorrect is incorrect. But what is incorrect is also correct. If what? The law says so. This is the beautiful definition of what? Beautiful definition of deemed. Okay. So just for your knowledge, I have said that. I'll be speaking a lot of things about deemed fiction, because there are so many places where the income tax law have put the word deemed. Okay. Anyways, shall we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
I'm coming back to the discussion of what is WDV. Okay. WDV means actual cost as reduced by depreciation actually allowed. Okay. Fine. I'm putting one Supreme Court judgment in front of you of 2009. 2009 Supreme Court judgment. The name of the SSC was Duma India Limited. Supreme Court 2009. Listen to the facts of the judgment very carefully. The SSC was engaged in growing and manufacturing tea in India. Okay. So the SSC was engaged in manufacturing and growing tea in India at a very large scale. Therefore, the composite income of the SSC from growing plus manufacturing was around 3,000 lakhs. Okay. Now, from that, the SSC also claimed some depreciation on actual cost of certain assets. How much depreciation was claimed? The actual cost of asset was 1,000 lakhs. On that, SSC claimed 15% depreciation. Okay, it was some kind of machineries. So it will come to how much? 150 lakhs. Okay. This was as per the income tax law. And this income is also as per the income tax law. Okay. So this income was before depreciation. And now I am claiming depreciation, and now I am writing the final PGBP income. Okay. This is 2850 lakhs. Okay. Now, listen carefully. Please pay attention. Now, this is not the amount on which the SSC will pay tax, because you would have done in CA Inter that if an SSC is engaged in growing and manufacturing tea, then only 40% is a taxable income. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? If you are engaged in growing and manufacturing tea, 40% is taxable, 60% is exempt. Do you remember that, Palani? Remember or not?
Exempt percentage, but not the
That was for tea, coffee and rubber. Do you remember that? Vignesh? Vignesh remembers. You should remember, Palani, that was a very important issue in CA Inter. Even in CA final it is important. Why so? Why so? Why so? Why the government is doing 40, 40, 60? Because they know that there is a composition of both. Na? Agriculture income also growing is agricultural, right? Growing of tea is agriculture activity, na? And manufacturing is a business activity. So the government has created a fictional percentage. It's a fictional, nobody can create an exact percentage. It's just looking at the industry average, they would have created this percentage. And I think so it is correct because it is there since decades. If it would have not been correct, government would have changed the percentage so far, right? So 40% taxable, 60% is what? Say na, exempt. So 40% is taxable. So that will come to, I guess, 1140. Just calculate once if you just, if possible. 2850, 40%. Is it correct? Yeah. This will come to 1710. Listen carefully now. Pay attention, please. Now everything was absolutely fine till here. Nobody had any question. Everything was fine. Okay. So this will be zero tax and this you have to pay tax. Tax should be paid. Okay. Shall I go ahead? Now the question came regarding what? Computation of WDV. Okay. What is WDV? WDV is defined in section 43.6. What is WDV? Please say. Actual cost of the asset. How much is the actual cost? 1000 lakhs. Okay. Minus. What is the definition of WDV? Minus what? Depreciation actually allowed. Actually allowed means what? Which help me to save tax. So on that logic, what assessee said, you know? The assessee said that 150 lakhs has not helped me to save tax. Because out of my total income, only 40% is taxable. Therefore, listen carefully, it's a mathematical game. Out of 2850, how much is taxable income? Only 40%, na? It means every expense will also be divided into 40-60 or not. So the assessee said that 60% of my depreciation is pertaining to agricultural income. That is anyways exempt under the income tax law. Yes or no? So I am liable to pay tax only on how much portion? 40%. So only 40% of the depreciation can be called as what? Actually allowed, right or not? Therefore, 40% of my depreciation will come to how much? 60 lakhs. And therefore, my WDV for the next year would be how much? 940 lakhs. Now, why assessee is saying so? Because if he would write 150 lakhs over here, the WDV of next year will fall down to 850 and in next year he will get lesser depreciation. And he is going as per the words of the law. He is not saying anything wrong. You further make the calculations. It's a mathematical game. Let me ask you a question. Suppose this 3000 lakhs, it's a composite income, right?
Yes, sir.
Divide this into 40-60. How much will be taxable income? 1200, right? And how much will be exempt income? 1800. That 1800 is exempt only, na?
Yes.
Now, then you will divide this 150 also into 40-60. Yes or no? Here it is 1200 and 1800, right? Pre-depreciation. Now depreciation should also be bifurcated between both of them, right? So out of taxable income, I will reduce 60. And out of exempt income, I will reduce 90. I reduce 90 or 900. How does it matter to this income? This is anyways exempt, na? So this 90 rupees depreciation is wasteful only, na, for me. For me, the depreciation which is allowing me to save my tax is only 60, na? Yes or no? This only 60 rupees is helping me to save my tax, na? Are you clear? If the department would have allowed me this depreciation after doing 40/60, na? Understand the math. If the department would have allowed this 150 lakhs after doing 40/60, then I could have said that entire 150 lakhs is saved. Yes or no? They are doing this before 40/60. Did you understand how only 60 rupees is helping me to save tax and not 150? The assessee said that I am going by the definition, right? The definition is what? Actual cost minus depreciation, which is actually allowed to me, which will help me to save tax. How much depreciation has helped me to save tax? Only 60%, only 40% of total. 40% of total comes to 60 rupees, right? Matter went to Supreme Court and the Supreme Court gave the judgment in the favor of the assessee. Okay. And the Supreme Court said yes, obviously. Supreme Court will go as per the words of the law, right? They will go as per the words of the law. Matter went to Supreme Court in 2009. Supreme Court gave the judgment in the case of Doom Duma India Limited. Yes, from here you will only remove what? 40% of the depreciation, not the entire depreciation. Obviously, the department is aggrieved. Department is not happy with the judgment. What will they do? What will they do? Will they override the provision or not? Please tell me. Will they override the provision or not? Yes, they will. They brought one explanation 7 to section 43(6). Shall we read that? Shall we read? Let's see. Explanation 7 provides that in case of a composite income, is the assessee engaged in composite income? Composite means mixture of two incomes, right? For the purpose of computing WDV of the asset acquired before the previous year, the total amount of depreciation shall be computed as if the entire composite income of the assessee is chargeable under PGBP. We have to compute total income. We have to compute depreciation how? By assuming that the entire income is what? Taxable income. If we assume that entire income is taxable income, then we also have to assume that entire depreciation is actually allowed. Say na please. And the depreciation so computed, we have to assume that entire 3000 lakh is what? Taxable. Even though reality is what? It is 40/60. But for the purpose of computation of WDV, you have to assume what? Entire income is what? Taxable income. Compute depreciation. How much depreciation will be coming? 150. Reduce entirely from the block of asset. And the depreciation so computed shall be deemed to have been actually allowed to the assessee. And therefore, after this judgment, what will happen? After this judgment, before this judgment, this was correct, right? 100 minus 60. But after this judgment, what will happen? 1000 minus 150, and therefore your WDV for the next year will come to how much? Please say 850 lakhs. The moral of the story is very simple. Let me tell you. What are you supposed to do? It's very simple. If you are engaged in composite income, you are not going to bifurcate the depreciation. Are you clear? You will reduce the full depreciation from the block to arrive at the WDV. Is it clear to everyone? Exam perspective I am saying for the last second. But I will not directly say what exactly effect you are supposed to do. I will tell you the entire history behind that particular effect, how we have reached to that judgment. Okay, is it clear to everyone now? So the very purpose of bringing this was because the main section was getting manipulated by the assessees. Because the main section says very clearly it should be what? Actually allowed. And actually allowed is only 40% because taxable income is only 40%. But for the purpose of income tax law, you assume that the entire income is taxable and reduce the entire amount of depreciation from the block of asset. Is everyone clear? So can I say this is my second exception to the norm? To the norm what? The depreciation should be actually allowed. But in these two cases, even though the depreciation is not actually allowed, still am I removing from the block of asset? Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
So these are the two exceptions which are there so far. There are some other exceptions all as well, which we'll be looking at later on in the chapter of capital gains. Yes, please.
I have a question. this second exception talks about composite income. Now, if I take the composite income to the extreme, can it also include 100% exempt income? So
No,
like
100% exempt income cannot be having a composite nature. Example, can you give me example?
Section 10 incomes and all that. So in that case, can the
In that case, though, you don't get the deduction of depreciation only. For that, there is a separate section 14A, if you know that in practical life, that any expenditure, etc., if you incur in relation to an exempt income, that is not allowed only. There's a separate section 14A for that. Okay?
so that also would apply to depreciation and
Yes, that will apply. Yes, definitely. Yes,
actually
yes. Now, I would like to just discuss one small issues over here, and then we'll move on towards the next big part. Obviously, that big part we may not be able to complete today. We'll continue tomorrow, and we'll try to complete depreciation by day after tomorrow, not tomorrow, because there's a very big chunk which is going to come tomorrow. For that introduction, we'll give today. But before that, we will just discuss one important aspect, a small aspect, okay? And that small aspect is what? Pay attention, please. Till financial year 19, financial year 20, okay? Income tax department used to give depreciation. Depreciation was allowed on what? Goodwill. Okay. But then I don't know what happened to them. In Finance Act 2020, they came up with an amendment that with effect from 1/4/2020, okay, with effect from this date, no depreciation on goodwill. Earlier it was allowed. That is the reason, if you remember at the beginning of the chapter, we have seen that in the intangible asset list, they have mentioned other than goodwill of business and profession. Do you remember that?
One doubt here, sir. Finance Act here 1/4/2020, which means it's assessment year or previous year, sir.
I'll tell you. I have written it very clearly till financial year 1920. Okay. So I have mentioned it very clearly till financial year 1920. Okay. So it means if your previous year is 2021 and your assessment year is 21-22, so from this year you are not going to get the depreciation of goodwill. Okay. Now the question will come, why? They have not mentioned anything why. Okay. CBDT has not given any reason why they are removing so. So if CBDT is not answering why, we can presume few things. Why? First of all, I would like to ask you, if I want to know the reason of any amendment, where shall I go and find out the reason? Yes. There is a memorandum to finance bill which is released by the CBDT immediately after the budget is released. The budget gets completed at 1 p.m. on 1st of February approximately. It may go 15 minutes here and there. So immediately the budget is completed, the CBDT will upload the memorandum to the finance bill on the website indiabudget.nic.in. There you can see the memorandum, you can download the memorandum, you can read the memorandum, and that memorandum will tell you the objective of making the amendments. But when I saw the memorandum to Finance Bill 2020, they did not mention any reason why they are removing this particular provision. Okay. Why they are discouraging people to make payment for goodwill. But we can make possible assumptions over here. The possible assumption is the government felt that goodwill is a very big amount. How goodwill is generated? How goodwill is created? In case of business acquisitions, right? You acquire a business and at that time you make excess payment more than the value of the assets, right? Yes or no? So you make excess payment, that excess payment is nothing but what? It's a goodwill. So government felt that generally the acquisitions are of billions of dollars, right? And in that particular case, the amount of goodwill is a very hefty amount. And that will lead to what? Lot of depreciation to the buying companies, to the acquiring companies. And therefore the government is not in a mood to lose so much of revenue by giving what? The deduction of goodwill. So that is the reason maybe they might have withdrawn this benefit. I don't find any other reason to withdraw the benefit. Okay, there is no tax evasion or etc. anything because of this, which has been noticed in the industry. I have no problem. They have removed, that's well and fine. many benefits come, many benefits go. It's all fine. But the problem which they have created over here is, now listen carefully. What does this provision means? This provision means that from 1/4/2020, from this date onwards, if somebody makes payment for goodwill, then it is not allowed for depreciation. Right? Right. It means if any business acquisitions are happening in previous year, what? 2021 and future, right? Goodwill will not be allowed as depreciation, correct? Yes or no? But they have not stopped themselves here. For example, if there is a person who has bought some patent in financial year 15-16 of 20 lakh rupees, is patent depreciable as an intangible asset?
Yes, sir.
Yes. At the same time, there is a person who has bought some goodwill in financial year 15-16 of 15 lakh rupees. Is goodwill depreciable at that time? Please say now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it was depreciable. So in financial year 15-16, you will claim depreciation. Okay? On both, right? Right or not?
Yes, sir.
In financial year 16-17, you will claim depreciation on both, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
In financial year 17-18, you will claim depreciation on both. On financial year 18-19, you will claim depreciation on both. In financial year 19-20, you will claim depreciation on both, right?
Yes, sir.
Then you will have a WDV on what? You will have a WDV on which date? 31st March 2020 you can say, or 1/4/2020 you can say. Okay. Now this WDV includes which assets?
Both patent and
It has some portion of patent, right? In between, assuming we have not sold anything. Okay. And it also has some portion of goodwill. Yes or no?
yes, sir.
Now from 1/4/2020 onwards, what the government has given the provision as?
No goodwill.
So now what they are doing, that is the problem which I am having. Now what they are saying, the WDV which is there on 31st of March 2020, or you can say 1st of April 2021, which includes what? Value of two assets, patent plus goodwill, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So what are you supposed to do, as a assessee? Remove the value of goodwill from this WDV. We will not allow you depreciation on the old goodwill also. Did you understand what I said? So how will I remove that? For that, there are specific questions in our question bank. Don't worry, I'll make you solve that question later on. There are some capital gain implication also. I'll be doing both of them together. But today I want to explain the concept at least once. I'll be dealing with this concept once again when I'll be dealing with capital gains. So how will I remove? This WDV has what? Two kinds of WDV. Suppose the total WDV of patent and goodwill is 17 lakhs. Okay. So now the government says that remove the WDV of what? Say na. Goodwill. How will I arrive at the WDV of goodwill? You have to take the goodwill as a separate asset. Okay. Assuming that goodwill is the only asset in the block. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
And then remove depreciation, remove depreciation, remove depreciation, remove depreciation, remove depreciation. You will arrive at WDV of what?
Goodwill.
Goodwill. Then remove that much and then you will be left with what? Please say. Patent. And in future, that is from 2021 onwards, we will allow you depreciation on patent, copyright, license, franchise, any other business and commercial right, but not on goodwill. Are you clear? This is what this particular provision wants to tell you. This provision wants to tell you. Please read this note. I will be doing a detailed discussion on this. I have not done justice with this provision. Don't worry. I'll be coming on this after some lectures.
Yes, sir.
I have a procedural issue. For what topics should we go to the main book and for what should we go directly to?
Main book contains, as I've told you in the very first lecture, that main book contains all the important topics. Some small topics might not be there. Okay. But your color book contains 100% of the syllabus, because ultimately on the day before exam, we are going to touch only the color book. Nothing else. So in less than 500 pages, we have covered 100% of the portion, except few things which I am myself not clear yet. That is black money law. What is the coverage of black money law? Let ICAI release the material. Once ICAI, that is the reason I have not given all the books together. Okay. So that is the reason I am waiting that. If ICAI release the material, then I will put black money law in book number 2. Okay. Apart from that, most of the amendments I know what exactly is there in Finance Act 2023. Our book is fully amended as per that only. Okay. Okay. Now, coming back to the discussion of WDV once again. You will find all of them in the book also, in the main book also. Pay attention, please. WDV is equal to what? WDV is a matter of great concern for us. WDV is equal to what? Actual cost minus depreciation actually allowed. Okay. Depreciation actually allowed means what? I have told you again and again. A depreciation which is allowing us to save tax. There are two exceptions whereby the depreciation has not saved tax. Still we are reducing from the block. One is unabsorbed depreciation, which will save tax when? In future, in later years, right? Not in the current year. Still we will reduce from the block. Second is partially business, partially agriculture. But while removing the depreciation from the block, we will remove entire depreciation. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the definition of WDV which is mentioned in the law. It is not a general definition. It is as per section 43(6). So now one more question will arise. If WDV is actual cost minus depreciation allowed, then what is actual cost? What is actual cost? So is the term actual cost defined under the income tax law? And the answer is yes. It is also defined under section 43 itself in 43(1). So now let us have a discussion of actual cost. It's a long discussion. It will take a lot of time, around 2 hours, 2.5 hours it will take to discuss the term actual cost and its complexities. Once that is done, our discussion of depreciation is almost done. After that, hardly half an hour discussion will be left. So now the most important discussion for us in depreciation is actual cost only. Shall I speak? Definition of actual cost. Actual cost means, it's a very vague kind of definition. It will appear to be very vague. Actual cost means actual cost of asset to the assessee as reduced by that portion which is met by any person or authority. Let me write it once. Okay. Actual cost means actual cost. What the hell is this here? Somebody asks you, what is the meaning of Prashant? So Prashant will say Prashant means Prashant. This cannot be the meaning of any term, right? You have to use some alternate words at least, right or not? You should have used at least some alternate words. Actual cost means price of the asset. Actual cost means value of the asset. Something else? No. They are using actual cost means actual cost of the asset to the assessee. Now, they are absolutely correct at their end. They could have easily used the word actual cost means price of the asset, but they are reluctant to use that word. They are using the cost of the asset. Why? The word cost is very wider as compared to the word price. The price is a narrower term, cost is a wider term. The point I'm trying to say is somewhat similar to your accounting standards. Let me give you an example. Suppose if I buy a television, say the price of the television is 50,000 rupees. So I went to a shopping mall, I saw the television, I like the television for my classes, for business purpose I am talking, because we are talking about depreciation, I am not talking for personal purpose. So I went to the shopping mall, I like the television, I bought the television by paying 50,000 rupees to the mall. So now if somebody asks me what is the price of the television, I will say it is 50,000. Now if somebody asks me what is the cost of the television, I will say wait. Cost means I have to make it into a working condition for my business. So I cannot make it into working condition just by paying 50,000. Just wait. To make this TV work, I have to have a connection of wire over here. For that, I need to put a socket over there. I need to put board over there. I need to put a switchboard over there. That will have a cost of say 2000 rupees. Secondly, I need to hang the TV behind. So I need to have a bracket over there. And I need to have a table on which I can keep the television. Or I need to hang on the ceiling. For that, I need to have some kind of rod. So that will have an installation cost say of 2000 rupees. So now if somebody asks me what is the cost of the asset, I would say it is 50 plus 2000 plus 2000, it is 54. But at the same time, if somebody asks me what is the price of the asset, I would say that it is 50,000. Therefore, the word cost means all those expenses which are necessary to put the asset into a working condition has to be capitalized to the cost of asset. This is the same treatment which you give in accounts also, right? In accounts also, in financial reporting also, all those expenses which are necessary to put the asset into working condition are part of cost only. So cost means all those expenses which are necessary to put the asset into working condition. Therefore, the term cost is wider as compared to the term what? Price. That is the reason the government is not using the word price. They are using the word cost. At the later half of this provision, you can see they are using as reduced by that portion which is met by any person or authority. It means if somebody has given you a part of the asset as a subsidy or as a grant. Say for example, I am buying a plant and machinery of 100 crore. And if government of India is giving me some subsidy of 30 crore, then obviously I cannot claim depreciation on 100 crore because it has not costed me 100 crore. It has cost me only 70 crore because 30 crore is borne by somebody else. Yes or no? So any portion of the asset, any portion of the cost of asset, if it is met by somebody else, then that has to be reduced from the cost of asset. Is it clear? Now, we cannot stop here. There are a lot of things to discuss over here. Let's further analyze the definition of actual cost. Pay attention, please. There is a great discussion that we are going to do today. Pay absolute attention. There was an assessee by the name called as Chellapalli Sugar Mills Limited. It's a company located in Tamil Nadu, Chennai. It's an old case of, I guess, 1985, I guess. It's a very old case. But one of the landmark judgments of the income tax law. Because of this judgment, there was great transformation in the accounting standards also. ICI also learned a lot of things from this standard, from this judgment, and they brought some standards out of it. Now, what exactly this judgment was? Suppose 1/4/1995 is going on, and the assessee took a loan of 10%, rupees 1000 crore loan or 1000 lakh loan. Why this loan was taken? This loan was taken for the purpose of what? For the purpose of starting a business, for the purpose of commencing a business. So with the help of the loan, the assessee has made the factory, has put the entire setup of the business. And then on 1st of October 2000 or sorry, 1st of October 1998, the assessee commenced the business. Okay. The business was commenced on 1st of October 1998. This is the discussion of the chapter. Huh? This is the discussion at another level. Apart from this, rest of the things are very straightforward till the end of this chapter. This is the discussion at another level only. So, obviously, the assessee asked for the benefit of the interest cost. Will the assessee ask or not? Which is in the pre-commencement period. How much is the pre-commencement period over here? It is approximately 3.5 years. Okay. So the question is, what will happen with this particular interest cost? Now you as a student in 2023-24, you can tell me the answer within fraction of seconds. You will tell me the answer within 2 seconds. Okay. That what will be the treatment of this? We don't have to think from that perspective. We have to think what used to be the situation before and how that situation came to the position which we are into today. But still, I would like to ask you all, What happens with such kind of cost which is incurred before commencement of the business? Interest cost. It has to be added to the cost of asset. There is no second thought on that. Everybody knows that. Even a CA inter student knows that, right or not? You would have done that in borrowing cost, right? AS 16, right or not? But how that borrowing cost came into birth? How that birth was given by ICI to that borrowing cost is because of this judgment of Challapalli Sugar Mills Limited. Now, what happened in case of assessee was asking for the deduction of this. Assessee was asking for what? Deduction of this. In which year? Obviously, in which year you will ask for the deduction? Obviously, in which year you will ask for the deduction? Deduction of expense will be allowed in which year? 90? 95? If there is no business only, how the hell you can ask a deduction? For asking for a deduction of PGBP, there has to be a PGBP, na? When your income will be charged in PGBP section 28, can you please repeat all of you?
Birth of the source of income.
No, section 28 clause 1, general charging section says what? There is a profit and gain from business or profession. Is there any business and profession in 95? No, it's just a pre-commencement period. So the very first year of business is what? 98, 99. Okay. Is it clear? So the assessee was asking for the deduction of what? Interest cost.
Interest cost.
Assessee was asking for the entire deduction. Huh? Entire deduction means how much? Of approximately 4.5 years. I hope you understood how approximately 4 years, sorry. 95, 96, 96, 97, 97, 98 and 98, 99. Yes or no? Because the business started in 98, 99, right? Can you just wait for some time, Prashant? It's a very, very connecting discussion.
So 400 lakhs.
So assessee was asking for the entire deduction. Assessee was asking, I am working so hard to keep my to bring my business into existence. So whatever interest cost I have incurred for the last 3 years and also in the current year, obviously current year expenses will also be claimed na by the assessee. Yes or no? So the assessee was saying that give me the deduction of the interest cost, and the matter went to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that we cannot allow you deduction of prior period. Is it a prior period expense? Yes or no? We cannot allow you deduction of prior period. Why? Because section 28 says that profits and gains from
Business or profession.
carried on by the assessee at any time during the previous year. The profits have to be generated from the previous year and not from the past year. Yes or no? And therefore, for your kind information, under income tax law, prior period expenses are not allowed. Not allowed, not allowed, not allowed as an expense. And that is the reason in tax audit report, there is a specific clause for prior period expense. As a tax audit reporter, you have to report, is there any prior period? Will you come across a prior period expense if you are doing an audit? Yes, you may. You may come across a prior period expense in case of your client. So you have to mention that to what? To the income tax department in the tax audit report. Prior period expense not allowed. Then assessee said that there has to be some way na, in which I should get the deduction. Yeah, if you are not allowing me as a revenue expense, then allow me in some other way. The court said that wait, we are here to do justice. The court is made for doing justice. Okay, you will not be denied of any kind of justice. The court said that. A very important principle, which even ICI was not aware of it. ICI just copy pasted this judgment and made a AS 16. Now let me tell you what the court said. Listen carefully. The court said that till the time, a very important business principle was said by court. The court said that till the time the business is not ready, a businessman work for the assets. And once the business is ready, a businessman work for the customers. Such a deep full thought. Listen carefully once again. Till the time the business is not commence, we work for what? Asset. And once the business is ready, we work for what? Our customers. Yes or no? And therefore the court said that till the time the business is not ready, we are working for whom? Asset. And if we are working for asset, any expense in relation to the asset should also be what? Say na.
Added to the cost of
Capitalized to the cost of asset. Agreed or not?
Yes, sir.
So this interest cost which is incurred prior to the commencement of business should be what? Capitalized to the cost of asset. And because of this judgment of Supreme Court, AS 16 was given birth by ICAI. Even ICAI was not aware of such kind of concepts. So ICAI finally brought what? The provision of AS 16 in 2002. ICAI has not brought provision of AS 16 from 1950. Is it clear? Shall I go ahead? So I would like to ask you two questions. Please answer those two questions. First question, why this interest cost cannot be allowed as a revenue expenditure in the current year? It is a prior period. That is the reason it cannot be allowed. Therefore, can I capitalize this interest cost to the cost of the asset? Because this interest cost is inextricably, I can say, closely linked to the asset. Therefore, you can capitalize and you can take the benefit in the form of what? Depreciation. We will not directly allow you. Okay. Now, my next question to you all is, next question, listen carefully. Let's go ahead in time. Business is commenced? Yes, it is commenced. Now, can I say I am carrying on the business and profession during the previous year? Please say na. Now, what will happen with the interest cost? Obviously, interest cost will continue. Na? The loan is not repaid. Na? The loan will be repaid in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I don't know the duration. Now, what will happen with the interest cost? This was the first interest. First interest is capitalized. Now, what will happen with the second interest? Please tell me. Very simple. Can I claim it as a revenue expense? And that is allowed. Any idea under which section interest is allowed as a revenue expense under PGBP? Obviously, we have not done. We are doing the first section only of deduction. It is allowed under 36(1)(3). Where? 36 subsection 1 clause 3. Okay, we'll be learning in the next lecture. After depreciation is completed, we'll move ahead with the other specific deductions. Okay. Shall I go ahead in time? On, listen carefully. Just let me complete, Prashant. Then you can ask. I'll give you time. Say on 1st of January 1999. Okay. Say on 1st of January 1999, I took a new loan. 10% loan of 500 lakhs. Okay. And I also purchased a new asset. But I put to use on 31st March 1999. Okay. Just a second. Now you have to tell me what will happen with this third interest.
Should be allowed as a revenue expense, sir.
Revenue expense, I have not put the asset into use.
The business is coming, so it's not
So business is commenced, right? So you will say that because the business is commenced, now you can take that expense as an interest expense, as a P&L expense, right? Yes or no? But what does your heart says? Tell me.
not be expense.
It should be expense or it should be capitalized to the cost of asset. That is what you do in accounts also. Yes, Challapalli Sugar Mills Limited will not take care of this issue. It only takes care of which issue? Pre-commencement, post-commencement, right? And that is the reason the government of India has made what? Listen carefully. A proviso in section 36(1)(3). What is section 36(1)(3)? Just now I have told you. Interest expense, right? So if you see a interest expense deduction under section 36(1)(3), you will find out there is one proviso over here. Can you see this proviso? Please read it once, what it is saying. If this proviso would have not been there, your answer would have been absolutely correct. Take as a revenue expense. Because Chellapalli does not take care of this issue. Chellapalli only takes care of pre-commencement issue. It does not talk about post-commencement issues. So then government realized. So they made a proviso. Can you see this proviso? What does this say? Till the time the asset is not put to use, it shall not be allowed as a revenue expense. If it is not allowed as a revenue expense, then what is the second option that is available with me? Is it a part of actual cost? Can I say actual cost means actual cost which is necessary to put the asset into working condition? Can I capitalize this interest to my cost of asset? Please tell me. And therefore, I will capitalize this. This interest will also be what? Please say. Capitalize. Shall I go ahead? One last point. What will happen after 31st March 1999? After 31st March 1999, whatever interest I will be paying, interest number 4, what will happen with that? It will be treated as an expense. Which expense? Revenue expense, right? Now here also, I'm holding my head. Here also some assessees were doing what you know. What were they saying? Listen carefully. I am asking you one important question. Why are we capitalizing interest in here? Why are we capitalizing interest here?
Asset is not put because of the
So says it has to be added to the cost.
It cannot be go to PNL. It cannot go to PNL, right? Everyone is clear? And is the loan related to asset? Yes. If the loan is related to asset, is the interest expense a part of asset only? It is. So we are capitalizing it, right? This is the reason we are capitalizing. Now what the assessee is saying, you know. How the hell they sit and think all this thing, I don't know. Suppose if I buy a phone, for example. I have bought a phone of iPhone, 1.5 lakh rupees. Okay. But I have bought on a 14% loan, EMI. Whereby I'll be paying 25 EMIs or 24 EMIs for 2 years. Listen carefully. I bought the phone. The phone is sealed back. Okay. I opened the seal. And I started what? Say, using it. Okay. So is the asset in use now? Yes. Is the relationship of asset and loan completed?
no.
When it will be completed?
The loan is finished.
When the loan is finished after 24 months, right? Now what the assessee is saying, you know, the asset is starting to use. So I will claim the interest expense as what?
Revenue expense.
Please say. At the same time, my loan is not closed, right? Is it closed or it is still pending? It's still pending. And is the interest expense related to phone?
Yes, sir.
I will also capitalize. Where the hell department is stopping me to claim dual benefit? And let me tell you a very important thing. If the department is not stopping you to claim dual benefit now, it means you can claim dual benefit. This is the general principle of income tax law. If the department is wanting you to not claim dual benefit, they will make a specific provision that don't claim dual benefit. This benefit will not be allowed twice. They will mention that in the law. I will tell you so many provisions later on. Just try to understand the concept which I am saying you. I have bought the phone on EMI. Have I started to use the phone?
Yes.
Once I started to use the phone, can I claim benefit under 3613?
Yes.
Can the proviso to 3613 stop me?
No.
It cannot stop me. Therefore, as per 3613, I will claim as a revenue expense. At the same time, I will say actual cost means actual cost. All those expenses which are related to asset will be capitalized to the cost of asset. Yes or no? Now, will this lead to dual benefits to the assessee? Now, if the department wants to what? Restrict the dual benefit, they have to say na something. So for that purpose, the government of India has done what? Listen carefully. Listen carefully. This is the reason I said you this discussion is on another level only. For that purpose, the government has given around 13 explanations below section 43(1). That is the reason I said it will take around 2 hours, 2.5 hours to complete the discussion. This 13 explanation talks about certain aspects, which I'll be speaking tomorrow, not today. out of which 8th explanation gives us some important information about this issue so that the such assessee does not claim dual benefit. Read this, please. Asset acquired out of
Borrowed funds.
borrowed fund. In our example, phone acquired out of borrowed fund. Is it clear? Interest on loan borrowed relating to the period after the asset is first put to use shall never form part of actual cost. It means such interest will always go to where? P&L account. Now this entire discussion, I will just recap with you all once again, and then I will tell you that it's a matter of 2 seconds. But how that 2-second discussion came and how it got arrived, that is the reason I've given you all this bhashan. I would like to ask you the questions. Please try to answer it. Till the time the business is not commenced, what will I do with the interest cost? Once the business is commenced, what will I do with the interest cost? If I buy another asset in between by taking a loan and I do not put to use the asset, what will I do with the interest cost? Capitalize. Once I put to use the new asset also, what will I do? Ultimately, what is the conclusion? Till the time you don't put to use, tell na. Till the time you don't put to use, and after you put to use, it's as simple as that, right? But to reach this conclusion, the government has to fight so many things. First, they have fight with the Supreme Court for Challapalli Sugar Mills Limited. Then they had to make proviso to Section 3613. Then they have to make explanation 8 to 43. Are you able to understand it or not?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you will find out that why there is a repetition of provision here. Why the provisions are repeating again and again. All the things are saying same thing only. It's not same thing. It's different thing which has arisen in different circumstances. Now, shall we read this entire discussion from our book? I have written this entire discussion in our book in the form of what? Interest 1, interest 2, interest 3, interest 4. Shall I? Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
If you come over here, okay? We'll directly do the discussion over here. One more discussion I would like to do over here. And after that, we will end today's lecture. One last discussion for the day. Pay attention on the board, please, all of you. If you want to take a photograph of this, you can take it, please. That would be helping you. But ultimate conclusion is very straightforward, which I will show you from the color book. Till the time you put to use, it is capitalized. After you put to use, it is revenue. Is it clear? So on exam day, we are not going to do all these things. On exam, we need to be knowing the final effect of any particular treatment. Now pay attention, please. Shall I? Now there is one very important issue. Yes, Prashant, please take it. Now there is one very important issue. Listen to me, please. I'm just erasing all these things. That is the reason I told you to take the photograph initially only. I'm not interested in all these things. I'm only interested in the pre-commencement period. Pay attention, please. Please try to answer my question. The question is very straightforward. What will happen with the interest cost of 9596?
Capitalize.
Why?
Asset is not put to use.
Let's not use that word.
What is working for the asset?
Let's talk about what Challapalli Sugar Mills Limited has said.
Work on the assets.
Can I say the business is not commenced? Which also implies the asset is not put to use. Okay? It's okay, Prashant. 96, 97. Let him also learn the depreciation provision. Let's see how. Capitalize, right? Financial year, Vignesh, where are you? 97, 98. Very important discussion it is, Vignesh. What will happen?
Capitalize.
Capitalize. The reason is same, because it is pre-commencement. I cannot take it as a revenue expense because it is what? It is a prior period expense, right?
Yes, sir.
Prior period means, what do I mean by prior period? A period which is of
Before the commencement.
before the commencement, right? Till here I don't have any issue. I have issue now. The business is commenced in 98, 99. Okay. So what will happen for the interest which I paid from 1st April 98 to 30th September 1998? What will happen with this period? What will happen with this period? Capitalize. Why capitalize? How can you can say pre-commencement? What is the previous year?
Anytime period.
Previous year is what, Palani? 1998, 1999, right? This is the previous year in which the business is commenced. Say na.
Yes, sir.
Does this period also come in this previous year? Yes. Then how this is prior period? Yes or no? How did you understand? The discussion is going all together on another level. Let me tell you very clearly, whatever level I have to raise, whatever bar I have to raise is only in depreciation. I cannot raise my bar in other parts of PGBP. Other parts of PGBP are very straightforward. Complications are there in only depreciation. Now disallowances are very straightforward. Then other deductions are also very straightforward. Sector wise is also very straightforward. Whatever bar I have to raise is only in depreciation. Please tell me, is this period coming in 98, 99 financial year or not? Then what shall I do with the interest of this period?
Still capitalized, but because it is before put to use.
Okay.
It is not a payment period, sir.
But it's still before the asset was put to use.
Let's not fight into this. Let's try to find out. Again, I am saying what does section 28(1) says? At any time during the. Shall we not know the definition of previous year and then comment on this issue? Shall we deal with the definition of previous year once? And then we will talk about this issue. What is this exactly? So let us define previous year today. Previous year defined. Any idea where it is defined?
Section 2.
It's a very diplomatic answer, Palani. It is defined in section 2, clause 34. Let me tell you how. Previous year means as defined in section 3, full stop. It means it is telling you to go where? And in the very first lecture I have told you, I will tell you section 3 later on. Do you remember that? In next 2-3 lectures, I'll tell you section 3. So section 3 is the definition of previous year. Why, sir? Why it has been given a special privilege of having a separate section? Yes or no? All the definitions are there in section 2. Then why this definition is there in section 3? That is because the reason is, this is the mostly used word in the entire income tax law. Do you agree or not? It will be found in every second sentence. Previous year, previous year, previous year, previous year. You will find this sentence everywhere. That is the reason the government has taken the pain of defining this separately. But at the same time, they don't want to miss the alphabetical order, because a general person will search where? In section 2, and in alphabetical order it should not be missed. Okay. So that is the reason they gave in section 2 the reference of section 3 and then told we have defined it separately and given him a special privilege to the definition of previous year. And now, if I see the definition of previous year under the income tax law, shall I say? It says that a previous year means a financial year. Previous year means what? Please tell me, please. A financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. Now I am asking you, a financial year is of how many months? Starts from when? April. With that note, can I call this as a prior period or within the year? Within the year. I cannot call this as a prior period because previous year means what? A financial year, and financial year does not start from middle of the year. It starts from when? 1st April. But in the definition of previous year, the government has given a proviso which says that in case a business is newly commenced, in case, then it will not start from 1st April. Then it will start from the date of commencement. And with that note, we come to know that for us, the previous year starts from when? 1st October 1998 to 31st March 1999. Are you clear? This proviso is for which people? Newly commenced business or profession, right? Now, with that note, can I say now this period is a prior period? And therefore, this will be what? Capitalized. The government do not intend to give that as a deduction, because if they give that as a deduction, that will be revenue loss to the government. Because if they directly give that as a deduction, they have to expense out full amount. But if they capitalize, they will give you depreciation over the years. Are you able to understand or not? So this is what the definition of previous year is all about. You can read this definition over here on page number 2.11. I'll read it with you all. Discussion on previous year. The term previous year is defined under section 234 as previous year defined under section 3. Since this is the most widely used term in the entire act, therefore the government has taken the pain of defining separately under section 3. Section 3 defines previous year as follows. For the purpose of this act, a previous year means a financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. But there is a proviso in case of a business or profession newly set up. In a financial year, the previous year shall be a period beginning with the date of commencement of business or profession, and that is not from when? Please tell me. 1st April. Now, why they have done so? Because of a very simple reason which you have understood, but again I will explain. Suppose if some person starts the business on 15th of March 2024. Okay? Okay. So the government does not want that from 1st April 2023 till 14th of March 2024, that is almost the entire year only, he should claim those expenses as a revenue expense. The government does not wish to do that because that will lead to revenue loss to the government. Are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
The moral of the story is very simple. That the date from which you commence the business, that will be the date for your previous year. Therefore, the previous year, can it be shorter than 12 months also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it can be shorter than 12 months also in the year of commencement. Is everyone clear with this?
Clear, sir.
So this is what the concept of actual cost. This is what the definition of actual cost is all about. Actual cost means actual cost. All those expenses which are necessary to put the asset into working condition has to be part of the cost of asset. I'll be speaking about few expenses tomorrow. There are some ICDs which are based on that what are the expenses which are necessary to put, like startup cost, commissioning cost, like trial run cost. All these costs are cost or not before putting the asset into working condition. Like trial run, test runs are done by the companies or not before they can start with what? The actual production. All of them will be part of what? Actual cost, and you can claim depreciation on that particular asset. Okay. Now, as I've told you, I've just give you a glimpse of certain things that below the definition of actual cost, the government has put what? Some 13 explanation. Now, what is the reason for those 13 explanations? The reason for those 13 explanations, when we are done with the 13 explanations, you will come to know there are 3 reasons for that. First is to give you benefit in some cases. First reason, out of the 13 explanations, some of them are giving benefits to the assessee. Because assessee is doing business, so it is the duty of the government to pass on some benefits to the assessee. Second one is to reduce tax evasion. The assessee was engaged in some or the other exercise to increase the cost, and then suddenly by increasing the cost, they are taking more depreciation. So they have to redefine what? Actual cost. And the third one is absolute clarification. Like explanation 8. Do you agree explanation 8, which we just did, was just a clarification that you cannot take dual benefit, right or not? So if you will be done with all the 13 explanations, you will come to know all the 13 explanations talk about these 3 things. Either they are giving you some kind of benefits, or they are helping you to tax evade, reduce tax evasion, or they are providing some clarification from department side. So we'll be starting with the explanations in tomorrow's lecture. Okay. So today's your homework is what? What are you supposed to read? You are supposed to read few things today. I'll just make you mark that you can read the first page of depreciation now, because we have done this discussion today, right? What do you mean by the term owner? Yes. What do you mean by in case of lease, who will claim depreciation? In case of hire purchase, who will claim depreciation? Right or not? ICDS case law, right? What is the meaning of the term use? Correct? Then block of asset, etc. we have done yesterday only. Then what is WDV? What are the two exceptions to WDV, right? Unabsorbed depreciation, partially agriculture, partially taxable. And then goodwill is not allowed as depreciation from 2020 onwards, correct? Then additional depreciation also we have done today, correct? And then actual cost, we have done this line. Listen carefully, see on the board, Palani now. We have done this much. We have not done this. We will be doing that later on. Don't worry, we have not done this discussion, and we have done this much part. Okay, these 3 points. That is prior to commencement of the production, capitalize. After commencement of the production, revenue expenditure. In short, till the time the asset is not put to use, capitalize, then you can claim as a revenue expense. Okay, this one line is sufficient enough to complete the discussion which we have been doing for last 45 minutes. That is more than enough to complete the discussion on the day before exam. Okay. So that's it. We'll stop the lecture here. There are some ICDS. We will be dealing with the ICDS in tomorrow's lecture, and then we'll be dealing with what? The explanations to section 43(1). Okay.